Chapter 2806. Run. The eyes of the three celestial masters from the Pentaphase celestial sect, the Spacetime Heavenly Gate, and the Darkness celestial sect were filled with deep fear. They could not help but roar and flee in all directions. They were completely scared out of their wits by Ling Xiao. Holy Master Radiant Peak was so powerful that even after using the Heavenly Capital Divine Fiend Slash, he was still killed by Ling Xiao's punch. The four Holy Masters attacked together, but they could not do anything to Ling Xiao. In the blink of an eye, 4 of the 7 Holy Masters had died at Ling Xiao's hands. The 3 of them lost their will to fight and fear filled their eyes. If they continued to fight, they would be at risk of dying. Swoosh! 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 The 3 Celestial Masters leaped into the void in an attempt to escape from the Samsara Temple. You want to leave? You'd better stay here. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He punched at the Holy Master of the 5 Elements Celestial Sect. Purple lightning surrounded his fist and it was extremely domineering. At the same time, dazzling light rose from his palm. The heavenly might was like a prison steel that spun across the sky. It was like an immemorial divine mountain that suppressed the remaining 2 celestial venerables. Ling Xiao did not intend to let any of them go. He was determined to make them all stay. Crack! The purple fist could be called the primordial fist. It was the ultimate fist technique that Ling Xiao had unleashed after his primordial immortal body was perfected. Ling Xiao had combined the ancestral dragon, true phoenix, white tiger, black tortoise, and Qilin origin secret skills. He had also studied many body refining techniques. With the primordial immortal body as the foundation, he had created the primordial fist. Although the primordial fist was not perfected, it was already able to unleash destructive power. Ling Xiao, get out of my way. The face of the celestial venerable one of the 5 elements celestial sect turned ghastly pale. His eyes were filled with rage as he roared furiously. His entire body was enveloped in blood-red light as flames rose. He burned the great path nomological laws and the power of his primordial spirit as he unleashed a terrifying attack towards Ling Xiao. He could feel the terror of the primordial fist. If he could not withstand Ling Xiao's blow, he would definitely die. Boom! Dazzling divine rainbows collided in the void. The primordial chaos fist contained eternal and immortal energy waves and emitted dazzling rays of light. It was as if a greater thousand world had been created and enveloped the celestial venerable ancestor of the 5 elements celestial sect. The heavenly venerate of the 5 elements celestial sect's most powerful attack had actually been destroyed without a sound. Rumble. Endless fist imprints surrounded the heavenly venerate patriarch of the 5 elements celestial sect like billions of stars. The heavenly venerate of the 5 elements celestial sect trembled violently. Despair filled his eyes as he exploded into a bloody mist. He had been blasted apart by Ling Xiao's punch. Primordial spirits of his primordial spirit. Primordial spirits primordial spirits was that primordial spirit was pure primordial spirit and primordial spirit primordial immortal primordial spirit. The 5th Empyrean was dead. Boom! On the other side, the 2 heavenly venerate experts from the Spacetime Heavenly Gate and the Illuminati Heavenly Sect were suppressed by the Heaven's Might Prison Steel. They had to use all their cultivation to lift the Heaven's Might Prison Steel and escape. However, they did not expect the Holy Master of the 5 Elements Celestial Sect to die at Ling Xiao's hands. Both of them were scared out of their wits. They frantically tried to escape from the Samsara Temple. Celestial Emperor Prison Suppression Technique, suppress. Ling Xiao said coldly. Suddenly, the heavens might emitted a dazzling light. It was as if a passage to hell had been opened. A dark and deathly aura emanated from it. Above the sky, it was as if hell had descended upon this world. Endless darkness and the divine light of death surged. Vaguely, an immortal great emperor appeared, blotting out the sky and suppressing all evil. Quick! The 2 holy masters' eyes were filled with madness. They even burned their blood essence and used the blood escape technique. They traveled thousands of miles in an instant. The Samsara temple had been enveloped by the myriad Samsara array. The void was sealed, so they could not tear the void apart. They could only escape by flying. The two of them were about to go crazy. They did not care about anything else. They only wanted to escape from Ling Xiao's clutches as soon as possible. They did not dare to make an enemy of Ling Xiao anymore. It was too terrifying. This heaven's chosen son actually used 200 years to possess invincible battle prowess that could crush Empyreans. Could Ling Xiao really become the 10th emperor of the human race? Deep regret welled up in their hearts. They regretted making Ling Xiao their enemy. This battle had established Ling Xiao's reputation as an invincible being. After today, Ling Xiao would be the most dazzling existence in the entire God realm. He would make all the worlds tremble. Buzz! Just as the two celestial masters were about to make it out of the Samsara temple, the void in front of them shone brightly. Runes intertwined and formed a transparent bounded domain. It exuded a mysterious Samsara aura and blocked their way. In fact, there were even streaks of extremely sharp sword chi that were formed and locked onto them. What? The faces of the two celestial venerables instantly turned pale. They only remembered that the Samsara temple had been enveloped by the myriad Samsara array. Not only had it sealed off Ling Xiao's escape, but it had also sealed off their escape routes. In other words, they were trapped in the Supreme Emperor array. There was no way they could escape. Old fogies of the Samsara temple, I'll fuck you, the two heavenly sovereigns from the spacetime heavenly gate and the Glabrest heavenly sect cursed in anger. Despair appeared in their eyes. Rumble. At this moment, Ling Xiao descended with heavenly might. The Celestial Emperor's prison suppression art contained the power to shatter and seal everything. It was as if an ancient emperor had descended. The terrifying power of darkness and death enveloped the two celestial lords. Ling Xiao's face was cold. Killing intent surged around him. The Heavenly Emperor's prison suppression art formed a strange resonance with him. The Extreme Emperor's aura seemed to have been completely activated. The terrifying Extreme Emperor's aura surged and tore the two Holy Masters into pieces. At this point, the last two Heavenly Venerables had also died at Ling Xiao's hands. Ling Xiao stood in the air, his black hair fluttering in the wind. His white robe was whiter than snow, and he held the heaven's might in his hand. Extreme Emperor's might spread out from his body, and chaotic light rose, making his aura sharp and majestic, exuding an invincible aura. The entire Samsara temple was silent. Everyone was completely stunned. Their eyes were dazed and fearful. It was as if they were in a dream. The void was filled with the stench of blood. Blood rained down from the sky and various mysterious visions appeared. These were telling everyone that the scene in front of them was not a dream. It was real. Ling Xiao had killed 7 holy masters. P.S. Something cropped up last night, so I missed the first update. I'll make up for it today. There will be 3 more updates tonight. Chapter 2807. Ling Xiao killed 7 heavenly venerables. That's terrifying. Is this the chosen one? I have a feeling that the immortal sacred grounds that have a grudge with Ling Xiao are in trouble. With Ling Xiao's current combat strength, he's invincible unless an emperor appears. Everyone was discussing softly as they looked at Ling Xiao with reverence in their eyes. The result was simply too shocking. Heavenly Venerables were known as Heavenly Venerables. They were at the peak of the Saint Path and were the strongest below the Emperor realm. They controlled the great Tao of heaven and earth and could unleash destructive power with a wave of their hand. Now, Ling Xiao had killed 7 of them as if he was cutting vegetables. Oh my god, Ling Xiao is actually so perverted. Doesn't this mean that my revenge will be even further away from me in the future? This fellow wouldn't have broken through to the Imperial Lord realm, right? The white dragon horse widened its eyes, revealing a look of shock and suspicion. Ling Xiao had displayed his peerless strength and killed 7 heavenly venerables in a row. Even he did not expect it and felt that it was unbelievable. Those heavenly venerables of the immortal sacred grounds were almost at the level of old ancestors. They were supreme experts who controlled the fate of the immortal sacred grounds. Losing any one of them was a great loss. Every one of them was unfathomable and had cultivated powerful emperor techniques. Even so, they still died in Ling Xiao's hands. After today, Ling Xiao will shock the entire divine world. Pangu Tiangang said with excitement. When he saw Ling Xiao killing 7 heavenly venerables in the void, he could feel his fighting spirit rising and his blood boiling. He could not help but want to fight alongside Ling Xiao. This was Ling Xiao, the young god of war of the War God Temple. He did not disappoint everyone. After this battle, who dares to say that they will destroy the War God Temple? Lu Baiyi's eyes flashed with unparalleled sharpness as he revealed a rare look of excitement. His battle intent soared as he threw out a punch. It was as bright as the sun, forcing the 9 imperial obelisk heavenly venerate to retreat. He killed 7 heavenly venerables. The Empyrean Exalt's eyes were filled with panic and disbelief. There was no longer a trace of arrogance in them. Ling Xiao slaughtering 7 great Empyrean powerhouses made him tremble with fear, feeling that things were not good. If this continued, wouldn't he also fall here? However, he was already at a disadvantage and was suppressed by Lu Baiyi. Now that he was slightly distracted, Lu Baiyi immediately seized the opportunity. Rumble. Lu Baiyi's body emitted an immeasurable amount of light, and a vast fighting spirit soared into the sky. His aura suddenly increased by several times, and his white robe was peerless, illuminating the entire sky. A blazing beam of light shot out from his palm. It contained the power to pierce through everything as it shot toward the celestial venerate in the imperial obelisk. Mahakasayapa Infinity War God Art. Lu Baiyi said in a low voice. His eyes shone brightly. Crack. The Empyrean from the 9 imperial obelisk trembled. He didn't even have the chance to dodge. The beam of light instantly pierced through his body. Rumble. His body seemed to have completely turned into a source of light and began to spurt out endless light. His eyes were filled with intense fear. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Then, his entire body exploded with a loud bang. The Empyrean from the 9 imperial obelisk turned into a dazzling rain of light, sprinkling down from the void. It looked dazzling, intertwined with mysterious great Tao laws. The Empyrean from the 9 imperial obelisk had died at the hands of Lu Baiyi. Everyone had yet to recover from the shock of seeing Ling Xiao. They didn't expect that the 8th Empyrean would also die. Now, only Empyrean Yufeng was left in the void. The saints and saintesses from the Chinese, Pentaphase Celestial Sect, Spacetime Heavenly Gate, and other immortal sacred grounds were scared silly. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with fear. The 8 Empyreans, who possessed the strongest battle strength, were all dead now. Ling Xiao had actually created a miracle with his own strength. Under Ling Xiao's peerless radiance, these so-called heaven's prides and kings were incomparably overshadowed. Damn it! Empyrean Yufeng's face was incomparably ugly, and his eyes were filled with biting cold killing intent. He realized that Ling Xiao's gaze had also landed on him. That gaze was flickering, containing a trace of cold killing intent. Rumble. Empyrean Yufeng's body suddenly erupted with unparalleled saint aura. A huge palm print swept across the sky, smashing the sword chi that filled the sky into fine powder. Then, after colliding with Xue Wei, he was directly sent flying back, landing on the reincarnation heavenly palace. Ling Xiao, you're dead meat. You actually dared to kill the Empyrean experts from the immortal sacred grounds? You're indeed a spy of the demon race. There will be no place for you in the entire divine realm. You're the mortal enemy of the human race. Empyrean Yufeng stared at Ling Xiao and said coldly, his eyes filled with blazing killing intent. Qi Miesheng stood beside Empyrean Yufeng. His face was incomparably ugly, and his eyes were filled with jealousy and anger. Why was Ling Xiao the chosen one? Why didn't Ling Xiao die 200 years ago? Why did he return 200 years later and possess the combat strength to kill Empyreans? Why did Shui Wei's heart belong to Ling Xiao? Why was she not even willing to look at him? Qin Miexing's heart was filled with hatred for Ling Xiao. The jealousy and anger twisted his heart, and he could not wait to cut Ling Xiao into pieces. Ling Xiao, you killed my Samsara temple's Empyrean withered glory and stole my wife. Today is the day you die. I'd like to see if you can escape from the myriad Samsara formation alive. Qin Miexing's eyes were filled with hatred. Rumble. As the ancient seal in Qin Miexing's palm emitted a strange light, the myriad Samsara formation became even more dangerous. A terrifying aura surged, and the extreme emperor's aura intertwined like divine chains of order. It contained a terrifying killing intent, and it locked Ling Xiao, Shui Wei, Lu Bai, the white dragon horse, and the Pangu celestial constellation. This was the supreme emperor array of the Samsara temple, the myriad Samsara formation. The myriad Samsara formation was a perfect emperor array, and it contained a terrifying extreme emperor's aura. Once it was fully activated, it could even kill an imperial emperor. This was where Empyrean Yufeng and Qin Miexing's confidence came from. At the same time, Qin Miexing had sent a message to his father, the supreme Samsara master of the Samsara temple. As long as the Samsara master attacked, Ling Xiao would definitely die, no matter how powerful he was. This is why I don't like you. If you want to kill me, just say so. Why do you have to pretend to be righteous and frame me as a spy of the demon tribe? How nauseating. However, do you really think that you can stop me with just an emperor array? Ling Xiao sneered, and his eyes were full of disdain. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 2808. Rumble. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by purple gas and emitted an immortal fluctuation. He could feel the terror of the myriad tribulations reincarnation array. The murderous intent was so strong that it could tear him into pieces at any time. However, Ling Xiao did not care. Even if he could not fight against the myriad tribulations reincarnation array, he had cultivated the secret skill of reincarnation and had the prison tablet. It would not be difficult for him to break out of the myriad tribulations reincarnation array. Ling Xiao had decided that he would kill Heavenly Master Yufeng and Qin Miexing after he broke out of the array. Young Master, I can break out of the myriad tribulations reincarnation array. However, young Master, can Shui Wei beg you to spare the rest of the Samsara temple and only kill Qin Miexing and Heavenly Master Yufeng? After all, Shui Wei is indebted to the Samsara temple and I do not wish for the Samsara temple to be destroyed. Shui Wei suddenly said to Ling Xiao with a pleading look in her eyes. Shui Wei had originally wanted Ling Xiao to let Qin Miexing and Heavenly Venerable Yufeng off. After all, the Samsara Master had helped Ling Xiao 200 years ago. However, their words had completely disappointed Shui Wei. Moreover, Shui Wei knew that the Samsara Master had not helped her out of sincerity. He was after the Samsara origin in Shui Wei's body. He wanted Shui Wei to be Qin Miexing's cauldron and help him break through to the Heavenly Master realm or even higher. All right. I will listen to you. Ling Xiao patted Shui Wei's head affectionately and nodded. However, Qin Miexing's eyes were about to spit fire when he saw this. You are courting death. Today, I will kill all of you. Qin Miexing said coldly. Rumble. The myriad tribulations reincarnation array was completely activated. Rings of mysterious reincarnation light bloomed. Chaotic mist and mysterious great Tao laws intertwined and transformed into the most terrifying murderous intent. It locked onto Ling Xiao and the rest. This was the power of the extreme emperor aura, which contained the great Tao origin energy. Even an Empyrean powerhouse would not have any ability to resist in front of this source power and would be reduced to ashes in an instant. Young Master, protect me while I cultivate. Everyone, follow me. I will bring you out of the myriad tribulations reincarnation formation. Shui Wei's eyes revealed a trace of strange light as she slowly said. Wang. A mysterious light of reincarnation shone from Shui Wei's body, causing the surrounding space to tremble slightly. It was translucent and dazzling. It enveloped Shui Wei, making her seem invulnerable and otherworldly. Mysterious phantoms appeared around Shui Wei. They looked very similar to Shui Wei, but their auras were completely different. They were like imprints from the endless worlds of reincarnation. They were densely packed and intertwined with each other, forming an extremely strange energy. The origin power of the great Tao of reincarnation. The area around Shui Wei seemed to have turned into a fairyland, peaceful and ethereal, protecting Ling Xiao, Lu Bai, the white dragon horse, and the Panga heavenly constellation. Rumble. After the myriad tribulations reincarnation formation was activated by Qin Miesheng, it instantly released a terrifying attack. Sword radiance and saber radiance rose, spear radiance and axe radiance swept across the void. All kinds of terrifying attacks, which contained the origin power of the great Tao, fell on Ling Xiao, Shui Wei, and the others. That terrifying fluctuation caused the scalps of the surrounding people to turn numb. Their eyes were filled with incomparable fear. This kind of power could easily kill a king sage. Was this the power of the Supreme Emperor Rei? However, everyone was incomparably shocked to discover that when that terrifying attack came into contact with the area 10 feet around Shui Wei, it actually silently melted like snow. Shui Wei shone with the mysterious light of reincarnation, protecting Ling Xiao and the others. The origin of the great Tao of reincarnation? The myriad worlds reincarnation. She really completed the myriad worlds reincarnation in the past 200 years? How is this possible? Damn it! Qin Miesheng's body shook, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. 200 years ago, Shui Wei entered the forbidden land of the Samsara Temple. The Forbidden Land was extremely terrifying, and it was known as the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation. Once one entered it, he would be reincarnated into the Myriad Worlds, and only a trace of his true spirit would remain. It was said that as long as one passed through the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation, he would be able to comprehend the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation. However, Qin Miesheng knew better than anyone else how terrifying the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation was. The reincarnation contained great terror and danger, and many geniuses of the Samsara Temple had fallen in it. Even Qin Miesheng could not bear it after going through the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation. For hundreds of millions of years in the Samsara Temple, it was said that there were very few people who could pass through the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation. Those who could pass through the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation eventually became the most powerful of the Samsara Temple, and left behind a rich and colorful legacy. Qin Miesheng did not expect Shui Wei to pass through the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation. The origin of the great Tao of reincarnation formation that erupted from Shui Wei's body was very clear. This meant that as long as Shui Wei completely integrated with the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation formation, she would be able to break through to the Imperial Emperor realm soon. This was a step to the top. It was precisely because Shui Wei had the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation that she was immune to the attacks of the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation. Rumble. The sky was filled with dazzling divine light. Shui Wei and Ling Xiao stood side by side, their fingers clasped together as they walked forward step by step. Terrifying killing intent surged around them, but it could not do anything to them. The Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation was said to be able to kill everything, but it was easily neutralized by Shui Wei. In just a few breaths' time, Shui Wei had penetrated the boundary of the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation and walked out with Ling Xiao and the others. They appeared above the Samsara Heavenly Palace and stood in front of Qin Miesheng and Heavenly Master Yufeng. If you want to activate the Myriad Worlds Reincarnation Formation, the token alone is not enough. You must comprehend the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation. It's a pity that neither you nor the Samsara Master have comprehended the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation formation. Shui Wei said flatly with a calm expression. Qin Miesheng and Heavenly Master Yufeng's faces were extremely gloomy, especially Qin Miesheng. His eyes were filled with resentment. Shui Wei, are you really going to betray the Samsara Temple? If you break off with Ling Xiao now, you will still be my wife and the saintess of the Samsara Temple. Otherwise, when my father comes out of seclusion, no one will be able to save you. Qin Miesheng stared at Shui Wei and said coldly. Qi Miesheng, you should know that the only person I love is my young master. I will never betray the Samsara temple. Shui Wei said calmly. Her face was slightly red, but her slender fingers held Ling Zhao's hand tightly, as if this was the only way she could draw hope and strength. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 2809. Ling Zhao's face was full of smiles and his eyes were as gentle as water. He looked at Shui Wei and smiled. There was no need for words. Shui Wei, you forced me to do this. Since you chose to be with Ling Zhao, you can all go to hell. Father, please come out of seclusion and kill them. Qi Miesheng said with fire in his eyes. He then bowed respectfully to the heavenly palace of Samsara with fanatical worship in his eyes. Master of Samsara, please come out of seclusion and kill Ling Zhao. Celestial Master Yufeng also bowed to the heavenly palace of Samsara. The Master of Samsara was their greatest support. Both Qi Miesheng and Celestial Master Yufeng believed that Ling Zhao would definitely die if the Master of Samsara came out of seclusion. The Master of Samsara has come out of seclusion. Could it be that he has broken through to the Imperial Emperor realm? Someone whispered, his eyes filled with shock. Everyone looked at the heavenly palace of Samsara and waited for a response. If the Master of Samsara had really broken through to the Imperial Emperor realm, it would be difficult for Ling Zhao and Shui Wei to leave the heavenly palace of Samsara. The Master of Samsara. Is he finally willing to come out? Such a secretive person, how disappointing. Ling Zhao's eyes were dazzling as they fell on the heavenly palace of Samsara. As soon as Qi Miesheng finished speaking, Ling Zhao felt an unfathomable aura as vast as the sea in the heavenly palace of Samsara. The Master of Samsara might have really taken that step. However, to everyone's surprise, there was no response from the heavenly palace of Samsara. There was dead silence. A strange look appeared in everyone's eyes. The Master of Samsara hadn't shown up. Could it be that the Master of Samsara was also afraid of Ling Zhao? Qi Miesheng and Heavenly Venerable Yu Feng looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with disbelief as they began to panic. This was different from what they had imagined. Moreover, Qi Miesheng had a bad premonition. He found that the connection between him and his father had been severed, as if it had been cut off by something. Why hadn't the Master of Samsara come out? Looks like it's really disappointing. The Master of Samsara didn't even have the courage to show up. If that's the case, then there's no need for the two of you to continue living. Ling Zhao smiled faintly. Then, a cold glint flashed in his eyes as he sent a palm down from the sky. Rumble. Endless purple lightning gushed out from his palm. His aura was terrifying to the extreme, containing the power of great destruction. It was like a purple world, instantly enveloping Heavenly Venerable Yufeng and Qi Miesheng. Ling Zhao, how dare you? Ling Zhao, if you dare to touch me, my father will make you beg for death. Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qi Miesheng's faces changed drastically, roaring angrily one after another. The two of them leaped into the air, intending to charge into the heavenly palace of Samsara. Boom! Ling Zhao's eyes were cold as an unparalleled fist print came crashing down. The Hong Meng fist contained the ultimate physical strength, which could break through illusions and suppress everything. Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qi Miesheng's bodies shook violently. They couldn't resist Ling Zhao's Hong Meng fist at all. Blood spurted out of their mouths as they were sent flying, crashing heavily on the door of the heavenly palace of Samsara. Don't worry, after you're dead, I'll send the Master of Samsara to meet you. Ling Zhao said coldly as he sent another punch down. Crack! Blazing purple clouds rose, and chaotic light appeared in the sky. A mysterious scene, as if the world had been created, appeared, making Ling Zhao's fist print even more domineering and ferocious. Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qi Miesheng, one coveted his heavenly fate, while the other coveted Shui Wei's reincarnation origin. Both of them deserved to die. Moreover, Ling Zhao learned from the Taishengdao Palace that the Samsara Temple was secretly plotting against the Taishengdao Palace and the War God Hall, even though they appeared to be neutral on the surface. A few supreme elders of the war god hall had died at the hands of Empyrean Imperial Wind, while a few female disciples of the Taishang Dao Palace had been raped to death by Qi Miesheng. However, Ling Xiao's actions were secretive, and the war god hall couldn't find any evidence, so they could only swallow their pride. Rumble. This punch contained the supreme divine power of the Hong Meng immortal body. It pierced through the chests of Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qi Miesheng, leaving behind a rain of blood in the void. The power of the Great Destruction surged into the bodies of Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qi Miesheng, instantly destroying their tree of Holy Way and destroying more than half of their primordial spirits. Ah! You crippled me. Ling Xiao, I'll fight you to the death. Qi Miesheng roared crazily, his eyes filled with hatred and despair. Ling Xiao's punch could have killed Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qi Miesheng, but he didn't. Instead, he destroyed their Holy Way foundation and crippled their cultivation. Qi Miesheng and Empyrean Imperial Wind's aura became extremely weak in an instant, and their cultivation dropped from the Saint King realm to the Divine Spirit realm. His cultivation base had been reduced to ashes. Empyrean Imperial Wind's face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with fear and despair. He felt that as his life origin flowed away, he became extremely old. He was lethargic and filled with the aura of death, as if his life was running out and he was about to die. I didn't expect this. The great Samsara Master has become a coward and is unwilling to come out even now. Fine, I won't kill Qi Miesheng and Empyrean Imperial Wind, and I won't hurt anyone from the Samsara Temple. This is my repayment for your help 200 years ago. As long as the Samsara Temple doesn't provoke me anymore, we'll be even. Ling Xiao didn't even look at Qi Miesheng and Empyrean Imperial Wind. His gaze fell on the heavenly palace, and he looked a little disappointed. Originally, Ling Xiao wanted to force the Samsara Master to come out, and use this opportunity to get rid of the Samsara Master once and for all. But for some unknown reason, the Master of Samsara did not show up. Ling Xiao lost interest and decided to spare Qi Miesheng and Empyrean Imperial Wind's lives in the end. This was his repayment for the Samsara Master's help 200 years ago. Moreover, Qi Miesheng and Empyrean Imperial Wind were already crippled, and they were no longer a threat to Ling Xiao. Shui Wei, let's go. Ling Xiao said slowly to Shui Wei. Okay. Shui Wei nodded and turned back to look at the Samsara Temple. Her eyes were filled with reluctance to part with it. But in the end, she still grabbed Ling Xiao's hand and left the Samsara Temple with him. Heh, how boring. I wanted to watch an exciting battle and let Ling Xiao kill the Samsara Master. I didn't expect it to end like this. It's so lonely to be invincible. White Dragon Horse chuckled. The Samsara Master. He must be tied down by something and can't split himself. No matter what, it's a good thing to be able to leave the Samsara Temple unscathed. Let's go. Lu Bai looked at the heavenly palace with a strange light in his eyes and said slowly. If the Samsara Master sees Qi Miesheng and Empyrean Imperial Wind like this, I'm afraid he'll go crazy. Pangu Tiangang said with a strange look in his eyes. Ling Xiao and the rest swaggered out of the Samsara Temple, and no one dared to stop them. Behind them, only Qi Miesheng and Empyrean Imperial Wind's cries could be heard. Everyone's eyes were filled with respect as they watched Ling Xiao leave the Samsara Temple. At this moment, in the heavenly palace of the Samsara Temple, chaotic fog filled the air. Old bastard, why did you stop me? I must kill Ling Xiao and destroy the War God Temple. You can't stop me. This is the shame of the Samsara Temple, and only their blood and lives can wash away this shame. An icy cold voice filled with rage exploded in the chaotic space. It was like thunder, filled with monstrous killing intent. P.S. End of 4th update. Everyone, rest early. 3rd Sect Leader. Chapter 28:11. Rumble. The blazing light was dazzling. The origin of the Great Tao was like a divine chain of order. It intertwined into a dazzling net and trapped a middle-aged man in a black robe. In the chaotic void, an old man with white hair and beard sat cross-legged. He had a youthful face and white hair. His face was hale and hearty. Rings of reincarnation light flickered in his eyes, revealing the vicissitudes of life and wisdom. The middle-aged man in a black robe was the ruler of the Samsara temple, the master of Samsara, Qin Wuji. Qin Wuji had seen everything that had happened in the Samsara temple. However, he could only watch as Ling Xiao killed Withered Glory Heavenly Master and crippled Qin Miesheng and Heavenly Master Yufeng because he was trapped in the Heavenly Palace by the Samsara ancestor. The Samsara ancestor was the strongest person in the Samsara temple. When Qin Wuji was still a child, the Samsara ancestor was already the Samsara ancestor. No one knew how old the Samsara ancestor was. Some even guessed that he was a living fossil from the 9 emperors of the human tribe. Qin Wuji had always been wary of the Samsara ancestor. It was only when he took the last step and broke through to the Imperial Emperor realm that he stopped being afraid of the Samsara ancestor. Xue Wei was the disciple of the Samsara ancestor. Therefore, Xue Wei had always had a superior position in the Samsara temple. In the past 200 years, the Samsara ancestor had been traveling the heavens and realms. Therefore, Qin Wuji dared to force Xue Wei to marry Qin Miesheng. He knew that even if the Samsara ancestor returned, he would not be afraid of the Samsara ancestor. However, it seemed that he had underestimated the Samsara ancestor's strength. The Samsara ancestor had silently appeared in the heavenly palace and imprisoned Qin Wuji. He could only watch the outside world but could not interfere. Qin Wuji's eyes were filled with incomparable anger. His murderous intent towards Ling Xiao had also reached its peak. Qin Wuji, you saw it too. I did not make a move to help Ling Xiao, but Ling Xiao still performed the magnificent feat of slaughtering 8 great Empyreans in a row. After this battle, his name would probably resound throughout the entire God realm. This is the Chosen One, the son of Fate of an era. If you go against him, you will die and the Samsara temple will be doomed eternally. Reincarnation Ancestor said indifferently with a calm look on his face. Famous throughout the God realm? Ha ha ha. Ancestor, in my opinion, Ling Xiao will die for sure after this battle. He has offended the Chinese, the 9 imperial obelisk, the Time Heavenly Gate, and the other immortal holy lands. Do you think these immortal holy lands will let him go? Ling Xiao is already the enemy of the entire world. Whether he is the chosen one or not, he will definitely die. Qin Wuji sneered and said. Qin Wuji, do you really think these immortal sacred grounds can kill Ling Xiao? Samsara Patriarch asked calmly. Why not? Old thing, you should know better than me that those below the Emperor realm are all ants. Even heavenly venerables are ants. If those 8 Empyreans were standing in front of me, I could also slap them to death. If all the immortal sacred grounds attack at the same time, it won't just be 8 Empyreans, but 8 emperors. What will he use to defend himself? Qin Wuji said coldly. If that's the case, are you sure you want to go against Ling Xiao? Samsara Patriarch sighed softly. That's right. How dare he make a scene at the Samsara temple on Xue Wei and Miesheng's wedding day? How dare he humiliate us? He even killed Empyrean Withered Glory and crippled Empyrean Yufeng and Qin Miesheng. If we don't take revenge, the Samsara temple will become the laughing stock of the entire God realm. Qin Wuji's eyes were filled with rage and murderous intent. He was determined to kill Ling Xiao. Have you thought about it? What would it mean if Ling Xiao managed to survive after being surrounded by all of you again? Samsara Patriarch said slowly. Qin Wuji's entire body trembled. However, he still revealed a determined expression and said, impossible. Not to mention that he's only at the Empyrean realm, even if he broke through to the Imperial Monarch realm, he would still die under the joint attack of so many immortal holy lands. Qin Wuji, let me answer for you. If Ling Xiao doesn't die, you and the Samsara temple won't be able to bear the consequences. If that happens, the entire God realm will be in a bloodbath, and those so-called immortal sacred grounds will be wiped out. Samsara Patriarch said slowly. Impossible. So what if he's the chosen one? He's offended so many immortal sacred grounds, he won't survive this time. Qin Wuji's face was filled with determination. Qin Wuji, I can stop you for a while, but I can't stop you for life. How about this? I won't stop you from killing Ling Xiao, but you can't take anyone from the Samsara temple with you. You can only go alone. The Great Tribulation is coming, and the Samsara temple can't take it anymore. Samsara Patriarch said helplessly. All right. Old man, I promise I won't take anyone from the Samsara temple with me. I'll show you that you're wrong. I'm the only one who can lead the Samsara temple to greatness and glory. Qin Miesheng agreed without hesitation. His eyes were filled with dazzling light. In that case, you're on your own. Samsara Patriarch said and nodded. He waved his sleeve, and the divine chains of order that imprisoned Qin Miesheng disappeared. Qin Miesheng looked at Samsara Patriarch and left the heavenly palace without saying a word. Qin Wuji, do you really think I don't know that you're after Ling Xiao's heaven path fate? But don't you understand? If the chosen one is so easy to kill, would he still be the chosen one? Samsara Patriarch looked in the direction where Qin Miesheng disappeared and muttered to himself. Buzz! The resplendent light of Samsara rose around him. Mist permeated the air as he silently vanished from the chaotic space. Ling Xiao left the Samsara temple with Xue Wei. The entire Samsara temple was as silent as cicadas in winter. No one dared to stop Ling Xiao. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao with awe and respect. Even the sage kings and the old monsters who had lived for countless years couldn't help but gasp in amazement. The news that Ling Xiao had wreaked havoc in the Samsara temple, snatched Fairy Xue Wei, killed 8 holy masters, and crippled Qin Miesheng and Holy Master Yufeng quickly spread throughout the divine world. It was as if the news of that battle had grown wings. In a very short period of time, it had spread throughout the entire God realm, causing everyone to boil with excitement and shock. Especially when many people heard the news for the first time, they didn't believe it and thought that someone was deliberately spreading the rumor. However, as more and more detailed information came out, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Ling Xiao had really killed 8 holy masters. The divine world was in an uproar. Chapter 28:12. What? The taboo character from 200 years ago, the legendary Heaven's Chosen One, Ling Xiao, is back? Hiss. He had slaughtered 8 holy masters in a single battle in the Samsara temple. I'm not dreaming, am I? 200 years ago, he had just attained the Tao and became a sage. Now, he can kill holy masters as easily as killing dogs. That's terrifying. All these years, everyone thought that Ling Xiao was dead. Even those who thought that he was still alive thought that even if he returned to the realm of the gods, it was no longer his era. In the past 200 years, the realm of the gods had produced many geniuses and kings. Everyone thought that they were more outstanding than Ling Xiao, but now it seems that everyone was wrong. Ling Xiao has returned and established his reputation as an invincible figure. Those immortal sanctuaries who had offended him will not be able to eat or sleep well, right? That's hard to say. Ling Xiao killed 8 holy masters. Will those immortal sanctuaries and emperor clans let him off so easily? Who knows, Ling Xiao might become the enemy of the entire world. 200 years ago, although those immortal sanctuaries tried to kill Ling Xiao, they did not use their full strength. Now that Ling Xiao has offended them, I'm afraid that they will find a way to kill Ling Xiao even if they use all their resources. What a pity. I did not have the chance to witness that battle. I wonder how Lord Ling Xiao was in the Samsara temple. Everywhere in the realm of the gods, people were discussing the battle in the Samsara temple. There were those who were suspicious, those who were shocked, those who were indifferent, and there were those who were gloating. However, after this battle, everyone knew that Ling Xiao, the Heaven's Chosen One, had officially returned to the realm of the gods and became the focus of the entire realm of the gods. At the same time, someone revealed that Ling Xiao was also the person who had saved the white dragon horse and killed Hua Dijie a few days ago. In the Samsara temple, the holy sons and holy daughters of the various immortal sanctuaries who had come to watch the ceremony were terrified. They were no longer as proud and arrogant as they were when they arrived. They hurriedly returned to their respective immortal sanctuaries and informed them of what had happened in the Samsara temple. The fall of a heavenly venerate patriarch was unbearable for the various immortal sacred lands. Other than those elusive imperial emperors, the heavenly venerables were the true powerhouses of the various holy lands. They were the absolute rulers of the various holy lands, and they were also the ones who had the greatest hope of taking that step. The death of one was a great loss, not to mention that 8 celestial venerables had fallen this time. Ling Xiao. You must die. The war god temple must be wiped out. In the ancestral land of the Chinese, pairs of cold eyes pierced through the void like lightning, emitting a terrifying sharpness. Rumble. In various forbidden zones and secluded grotto heavens, figures with terrifying auras appeared one after another. These were great elders and old ancestors, who were rarely seen in many years, but because of Empyrean Radiant Peak's death, they had all emerged from seclusion. They naturally felt extremely shocked at the first moment. They did not expect Ling Xiao to not only break through to the celestial venerate realm in a short 200 years, but his combat strength was also so terrifying that he could kill 8 celestial venerates consecutively. However, their hearts were filled with anger and killing intent. How many years had it been? No one had ever dared to provoke the Chinese, and the Chinese had always considered themselves the leader of the emperor race. Ling Xiao's actions were tantamount to slapping the Chinese in the face. It was simply a great humiliation. Ling Xiao must die. The most important thing was the heavenly fate on Ling Xiao. If it was obtained by a prodigy of the Chinese, he would become the new son of fate. Once he became the 10th great emperor of the human race, the Chinese would have 2 great emperors and would definitely be able to last for hundreds of millions of years. This was the ultimate glory. Therefore, the Chinese were also the ones who wanted to kill Ling Xiao the most. As for the 9 imperial gates, the space-time heavenly gate, the heavenly curse sect, the 5 elements celestial sect, the nirvana shrine, and the darkness heavenly sect, these 6 immortal holy lands had long been tied to the Chinese, and they were also the strongest forces in the divine realm. After learning about the death of the celestial venerate old ancestor, they were also extremely furious. On this day, everyone in the divine world heard a series of enraged roars reverberating through the void. One after another, the figures of supreme experts appeared like suns, all of them shouting for Ling Xiao to be killed. Now that Ling Xiao had offended the Samsara temple, there were 7 immortal holy lands and 1 supreme emperor race in total. These 8 super forces quickly took action. With the Chinese in the lead, they first sent out many experts to monitor the combat god temple's every move. Then, the 8 super forces sent out their supreme elders to gather in the Chinese for a meeting to discuss how to deal with Ling Xiao. In addition, they also sent out envoys to the chaotic heavenly sect, the Destiny Shrine, and the myriad Buddha temple, hoping to invite the 3 immortal holy lands to join forces. However, although the attitude of the 3 immortal holy lands was very polite, they still tactfully refused. They displayed an attitude of not wanting to get involved no matter what. Although the 8 super forces were a little depressed, they did not force the issue. In a majestic palace of the Chinese, a few figures with terrifying auras sat cross-legged in the void. Their divine consciousness intertwined like dazzling lightning as they discussed how to deal with Ling Xiao. The chaotic heavenly sect is not a big deal. They have always been aloof and did not participate in the disputes of the divine realm. However, those hypocrites from the Destiny Shrine are really despicable. 200 years ago, they clearly participated in the operation against Ling Xiao, but now they want to stay out of it. An old figure sneered, his eyes like lightning, piercing through the void. Although the hypocrites from the Destiny Shrine are despicable, they can see a glimmer of the future from the River of Destiny. Do they think we can't win this battle? See a glimmer of the future? At our level of cultivation, don't you understand that there are countless possibilities in the future? The impact on us is negligible. The Shrine of Fortune can't comprehend it. I think they're just scared by Ling Xiao. And those bald donkeys from the myriad Buddha temple. I suspect that it's not that they don't want to take action, but that they are hiding in the dark to take advantage of the situation. This has always been their way of doing things. It doesn't matter if they participate or not, it won't affect our operation this time. Ling Xiao must die. That's right, Ling Xiao must die. However, there is one thing that we must make clear. All the treasures on him, including the Supreme Emperor techniques, Emperor scriptures, Supreme Emperor weapons, Chaos treasures, and so on, must be divided equally among the 8 super forces. We must not fight among ourselves and give Ling Xiao a chance to defeat us one by one. Agreed. Agreed. Among the Chinese, the 8 super forces quickly reached an agreement and began to discuss the plan to kill Ling Xiao. Chapter 28:13. The entire God's world was waiting for the reaction of the Chinese and the 7 immortal sanctuaries. Ling Xiao's massacre of the 8 holy masters shocked everyone. At the same time, they were filled with worry. After all, the 12 immortal sanctuaries and the emperor tribes had been in the God's world for hundreds of millions of years. They had a strong foundation and possessed various powerful trump cards and techniques. Although Ling Xiao was powerful, could he really fend off the attacks of the 8 super forces? Everyone could see that the God's world was in an uproar because of this. Many of the humans in the God's world idolized Ling Xiao and even thought that he would become the 10th emperor of the human race. However, they knew that Ling Xiao was in a situation where he had the entire world as his enemy. What Ling Xiao had to face next would be the craziest revenge from the various super forces. Could Ling Xiao and the War God Temple really fend them off? On the surface, the God's world was in an uproar. However, the undercurrents were turbulent and a storm was coming. Many people had a premonition that a great war that would shock the entire God realm and even the entire universe was about to erupt. However, all of this had nothing to do with Ling Xiao for the time being. Ling Xiao brought Xue Wei, Lu Bai, Pangu Tiangang, and the White Dragon Horse out of the Samsara Temple and returned to the War God Temple. Young God of War Ling Xiao has slaughtered the 8 holy masters and returned with a great victory. Congratulations to Ling Xiao and the War God Temple. In the sky above the War God Temple, the White Dragon Horse roared loudly. Immediately, everyone in the War God Temple was alarmed. What? Ling Xiao is back. Young God of War is really back. He slaughtered the 8 holy masters. The White Dragon Horse's voice reverberated throughout the War God Temple, shocking everyone. Whoosh! 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 Figures flew out from the 9 hovering mountains of the War God Hall one after another. Their eyes were filled with excitement. They saw it. Above the 9 heavens, Ling Xiao's demeanor was peerless, and his demeanor was extraordinary. A faint smile hung on the corner of his mouth, and his eyes revealed a trace of excitement. Ling Xiao was really back. I'm afraid you don't know. This time, Ling Xiao went to the Samsara Temple, took back Fairy Xue Wei, killed 8 celestial masters, and crippled Qin Miesheng and celestial master Yu Feng. The entire Samsara Temple was as silent as cicadas in winter. No one dared to stop Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao has helped you pay back all the anger you've suffered for the past 200 years. The White Dragon Horse was full of pride as it bragged about Ling Xiao's exploits in the Samsara Temple. Killed 8 holy masters. Crippled Qin Miesheng and Yu Feng. No one dares to stop you in the Samsara Temple. Invincible in a single battle. Is our young God of War. Temples whites of Ling's wars with gods with its god of the king Estha of the world of gods of their with of people of their s of their world of them of s of their. Of course of our of their, congratulations to the War God Temple. Our young God of War is invincible. The War God Temple is invincible. The elders and disciples seemed to have gone crazy. Their eyes were filled with fanatical worship as they roared crazily. It was as though they wanted to vent all the anger they had suffered for the past 200 years. The War God Temple had suffered for the past 200 years. They had been targeted by the Chinese and the immortal sacred grounds. Countless elders and disciples of the War God Temple had died. The most tragic thing was that they had died not at the hands of the demon race or the other races, but at the hands of their own people. This was all because Ling Xiao was from the War God Temple. They wanted to take revenge on Ling Xiao, so they took their anger out on the war god temple. Seeing those genius disciples of the war god temple fall before they could mature, seeing those ice-cold corpses, the hearts of every disciple of the war god temple were filled with monstrous fury and killing intent. They had been suppressed for too long. Today, however, Ling Xiao had returned. He had returned with a great victory and established his undefeatable reputation. This made their blood boil and they couldn't control themselves. Many elders and disciples' eyes were red, and tears were streaming down their faces. Are these all the disciples of the war god temple left? Ling Xiao muttered to himself as he clenched his fists. His eyes were incomparably sharp, like a peerless divine sword. They contained a cold killing intent, causing his entire body to be filled with anger. With Ling Xiao's current divine thought, he could easily cover the entire war god temple. Naturally, he could see the current situation of the war god temple. The war god temple's 9 branches had less than 100,000 disciples left. It was too tragic. One had to know that the 12 immortal sacred grounds had stood in the god realm for hundreds of millions of years. Which one of them did not have millions of disciples? Even if the war god temple was ranked last and its strength had been damaged, it still had millions of disciples. Now, there was only 1/10 of them left. Ling Xiao's expression was grave. He felt as though there was a flame burning in his chest. The war god temple has millions of disciples. In the past 200 years, close to 100,000 have died in battle. The rest have all left. Some of them could not take such a tragic situation, and some were persuaded to leave by the elders of the sect. The remaining 100,000 disciples are all the most loyal disciples of the war god temple. Lu Bai said with a bitter smile. There was a deep weariness in his eyes. In the past 200 years, the war god temple had been targeted and suppressed like never before. The one who was under the most pressure was Lu Bai. As the war god of the war god temple, he was everyone's faith and hope. Therefore, he was able to break through 4 small realms from the Saint King realm to the heavenly venerable realm in the past 200 years. He was barely able to support the war god temple. They will pay the price. I promise. Ling Xiao said word by word. His eyes were filled with monstrous sharpness. Ling Xiao's heart was filled with anger, but also deep sorrow. This was the so-called pillar of the human tribe. The so-called immortal sacred grounds and supreme god tribe. Now, the great tribulation of the era was coming. The god realm had become a big piece of meat in the eyes of everyone in the universe. The human tribe had become the target of public criticism without knowing it. They did not think about how to unite all the living forces to resist the invasion of the demon tribe and the alien tribe. Instead, they only thought about how to suppress their own people and eliminate their dissidents. In this way, where was the hope of the human tribe? Ling Xiao, I know you are disappointed. So am I. But those people deserve to die. They have long forgotten their identity as the human tribe. They only care about benefits, power, and themselves. Therefore, we should kill all of them and carve out a path for ourselves. Pangu Tiangang looked at Ling Xiao and said slowly. End of chapter. Chapter 28:14. Kill our way out of this mess. You're right. The hope of the human race lies in their deaths. Once we get rid of all these scum, the human race might have a new hope. Ling Xiao nodded. The murderous intent in his eyes slowly receded and he regained his composure. He had to take it one step at a time. He had to settle his debts one by one. Killing the 8 heavenly venerables was nothing to Ling Xiao. It was just interest. Next, he would make the Chinese and the immortal sacred grounds pay 10 times or even 100 times the price. Because of me, everyone has suffered for the past 200 years. You didn't leave the war god temple, the sect, or me. I'm very grateful. However, what you don't know is that what we're going to face next will be crueler than what we've been through for the past 200 years. Ling Xiao floated in the air, his gaze sweeping across the eyes of every elder and disciple. His voice was solemn and serious. No one said anything. They listened to Ling Xiao quietly without any change in their expressions. You know, I did kill the 8 heavenly venerables. However, whether it's the Chinese, the Samsara temple, or the immortal sacred grounds, they won't let this matter rest. They want to kill me, they want to destroy the war god temple. Therefore, the war god temple and I will be facing the greatest danger. I might die, the war god temple might be destroyed, and all of you might die. If you choose to leave now, I won't blame you. The war god won't blame you either. If you stay, you might die. However, if you leave the war god temple, you might be able to survive. After hearing Ling Xiao's words, everyone looked confused and panicked. However, they all became determined in the end. No one chose to leave. Even in the face of the terrifying pressure from the Samsara temple, the Chinese, and the immortal sacred grounds, they did not choose to leave. Young war god, you don't have to say this. We've already made up our minds. We'll live and die with the war god temple. If the war god temple is destroyed, we'll go to hell together. His voice was slightly trembling, but it was incomparably resolute. Brother Ling Xiao, I'm not going to give you a chance, a young disciple who looked a little immature said bravely. That's right. We'll live and die with the war god temple. We'll live and die with the war god temple. The young disciple's words seemed to have ignited the fighting spirit in everyone's hearts. After a moment of silence, everyone began to roar wildly. Their faces were all red, and their bodies were trembling. Their blood was boiling, and their fighting spirit was soaring. Their eyes were filled with the determination to disregard life and death and their fanatical worship for Ling Xiao. They knew they were going to die, but they still chose to stay. Ling Xiao suddenly felt his eyes heat up. These were the disciples of the war god temple, the spirit of the human race. Ling Xiao could see the hope of the human race in them. What's there to see? Damn it, why do you have to be so emotional? My eyes are hurting from the wind. The white dragon horse stealthily wiped the corners of its eyes. Seeing Pangu Tiangang looking at it with a weird face, it immediately became angry out of shame. I just feel that joining the war god temple is the best choice for me. To live and die with the war god temple. Hee, if I can kill all those holy sons and holy daughters, even if I die, it will be worth it. Pangu Heavenly Dipper said with a faint smile. His eyes were filled with deep emotion. The war god temple only had 100,000 disciples and elders left. They knew very well the consequences of Ling Xiao's massacre of the 8 heavenly venerables. Perhaps the war god temple was already surrounded and about to receive a storm of attacks. But they still chose to stay. Even Lu Bai, although he looked very calm, his slender fingers were trembling slightly. It showed that his heart was not as calm as he looked. Swear to live and die with the war god temple. Good. Junior brothers, junior sisters, elders, since you trust the war god temple, Lord War God, and me so much, we will definitely not let you down. I won't say much. The war is coming. From today onwards, the war god temple will seal the mountain and prepare for the war. Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly as he spoke slowly to the crowd. Rumble. As soon as Ling Xiao finished speaking, the celestial arch seal in Lu Bai's palm was dazzling. It floated up and emitted dazzling lightning, instantly blooming with boundless light like the sun. The entire war god shrine glowed with resplendent light. Divine chains of order intertwined with each other as runes rose into the air, forming a gigantic barrier that enveloped everyone within it. The Supreme Emperor array of the war god temple had also begun to awaken. Ling Xiao felt an incomparably familiar feeling from the celestial arch seal. His eyes flashed and he immediately understood that it was the aura of the Thunder Spirit King. After the flipping sky seal, the war god seal and the celestial arch seal merged, they formed the complete celestial arch seal. The Thunder Spirit King had also become the weapon spirit of the celestial arch seal. Moreover, Ling Xiao could feel that he could also control the celestial arch seal. Junior Martial Uncle Ling Xiao, this is the celestial arch seal. The Thunder Spirit King is now the weapon spirit of the Celestial Arch Seal. You can also control the Celestial Arch Seal. The War God Temple is in your hands. No matter what choice you make, I will support you. Lu Bai looked at Ling Xiao seriously and said. The Celestial Arch Seal also flew towards Ling Xiao. Master, long time no see. I have missed you so much. The Thunder Spirit King's excited voice could be heard from the Celestial Arch Seal. The Celestial Arch Seal shone brightly and became transparent. A majestic old man's figure appeared from the seal. His face was filled with excitement. It was the Thunder Spirit King. You have become the weapon spirit of the Celestial Arch Seal. You are getting stronger now. However, with the weapon spirit, the Celestial Arch Seal's power can be unleashed. It should not be a problem to kill an Imperial Emperor, right? Ling Xiao said with a smile. Kill an Imperial Emperor? Cough. Cough. That's not enough. However, as long as an Imperial Emperor dares to enter the War God Temple, I will activate the Supreme Emperor Array and kill him. The Thunder Spirit King said with a cough. Very good. However, I do not need you to kill an Imperial Emperor. I just need you to protect the elders and disciples of the War God Temple at the critical moment. They are the foundation of the War God Temple. None of them can be missing. Ling Xiao said slowly. All right. However, do you really have a way to deal with the upcoming crisis? The Thunder Spirit King said hesitantly. Upcoming? You may not know this, but I am looking forward to it. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. There was a sharp light in his eyes. Ling Xiao was also curious. If the experts of the Chinese, the Samsara Temple and the Immortal Holy Lands were triggered and came to the War God Temple to kill Ling Xiao, what kind of scene would it be? Chapter 28:15. Rumble. The entire War God Temple was enveloped by a huge transparent barrier. The War God Temple had sealed off the mountain. At this moment, the entire divine world was paying attention to the War God Temple's every move. The news of the War God Temple sealing off the mountain quickly spread throughout the divine world, causing everyone to be shocked. Shaoli said, Sui Meng. Is the War God Temple going to fight to the end? The Supreme Emperor formation had been activated. It would not be easy to break the Supreme Emperor formation of the War God Temple. Even the Supreme Emperor formation had been activated. This showed the War God Temple's attitude. Everyone was watching. What would the Chinese and the Samsara Temple do? Although these immortal holy lands appeared to be very calm, everyone was extremely keen to discover that many people had already appeared around the War God Temple and were monitoring its every move. It seemed like the immortal holy lands were really going to attack the War God Temple. Inside the War God Temple, Ling Xiao waved his hand and a resplendent river immediately appeared in the air. The origin energy in the river was as dense as the stars, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. Auspicious vapors rose and resplendent light shone. The origin energy of the entire War God Hall actually began to skyrocket in an instant. A total of 9 rivers appeared in the void. Those are origin elixir rivers. Someone exclaimed. His body trembled and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Rumble. Each of the 9 long rivers in the void contained countless origin elixirs. They converged together like a torrent, spewing out extremely rich origin energy that was as bright as the stars. These were origin elixir rivers. Each origin elixir river contained tens of billions of origin elixirs. Everyone in the War God Temple was stunned. They did not expect Ling Xiao to take out 9 origin elixir rivers at once. The war is coming. I hope everyone can increase their strength as much as possible. I obtained these 9 origin elixir rivers by chance. Now, I'm taking them all out for your cultivation. How much you can absorb will depend on your luck. Ling Xiao said with a smile. 9 origin elixir rivers. Junior Marshal Uncle, you're really generous. Lu Bai exclaimed in surprise. The War God Temple was poor, very poor. When they were in the Samsara temple, everyone saw the 18 elixir rivers of origin floating above the Samsara temple. That was the foundation of the Samsara temple. However, the war god temple did not have an origin source pill river, not even one. All the origin source pills were given to the elders and disciples to cultivate. How could they have seen so many origin source pills, and 9 origin source pill rivers at that? They are willing to live and die with the war god temple. What are some origin pills to them? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Rumble. Ling Xiao took a step forward and stepped into the air. Dazzling light burst out from his body. In an instant, golden light gushed out from his heart. Divine chains of order shot out and shrouded the surroundings. The 3,000 divine chains of order contained the 3,000 laws of the Great Path. They intertwined with each other and formed a mysterious area. All the disciples and elders of the War God Hall felt their spirits rise. Their bodies glowed with resplendent light, forming a mysterious resonance with the Tao of heaven and earth. They directly entered a state of Tao comprehension. The Good Fortune Jade Disc. Ling Xiao activated the power of the Good Fortune Jade Disc and created an artistic space of the 3,000 laws of the Great Path, allowing the people of the War God Temple to enter a state of Tao comprehension. Moreover, as the majestic energy of the 9 origin source pill rivers was drawn and integrated into the bodies of the disciples and elders of the War God Temple, their auras began to skyrocket. That's really a big deal. Ling Xiao, are you planning to raise the 100,000 elders and disciples of the War God Temple to the Saint Realm? Pangu Tiangang exclaimed. To become a saint, one had to comprehend the laws of the Great Path of heaven and earth. Only by perfecting one's physical body, primordial spirit, heart force, or laws could one become a saint. However, comprehending the laws of the Great Path of heaven and earth was an extremely long process. Ling Xiao used the Good Fortune Jade Disc to derive the 3,000 laws of the Great Path, which increased the speed of comprehension by thousands of times. Everyone's cultivation began to rise rapidly. The hearts of the disciples and elders of the War God Temple were filled with gratitude and admiration. They didn't expect Ling Xiao to not only take out the 9 origin source pill rivers without batting an eye, but also create a space of 3,000 laws of the Great Path for them to cultivate and break through. Even an imperial emperor expert wouldn't be so generous. They all calmed down and comprehended the laws of the Great Path while refining the origin source pill. Their cultivation soared rapidly. Boom! 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 Among the 100,000 elders and disciples of the War God Temple, there were people who constantly broke through to the next realm and began to undergo tribulation. There were even a few elders who had been stuck at the peak of the 9th Revolution half-saint realm who directly comprehended the laws of the Great Path. Once they became saints, they began to undergo tribulation. Rumble. In the War God Temple, dazzling lightning flashed and majestic auras rose. There were people who constantly broke through to the next realm, causing the entire War God Temple to show a majestic atmosphere. However, because the War God Temple sealed the mountain and activated the Almighty Emperor Array, the scene of the breakthroughs was covered. People outside didn't know what was happening in the War God Temple. Ling Xiao returned to the War God Temple and saw many old friends. Lu Wenzheng, Hu Zi, Yang Fan, Wu Xiong, and Gao Yang were all Ling Xiao's old friends. However, Fengya, that cute little girl, was no longer around. This made Ling Xiao feel a little sad. Little junior brother, this is Miss Xue Wei, right? Lu Wenzheng looked at Xue Wei beside Ling Xiao and smiled. That's right. Xue Wei, come and greet the Grand Elder. Ling Xiao said with a smile. He felt that Lu Wenzheng's gaze was a little strange, and it made his hair stand on end. Greetings, Grand Elder. Xue Wei's beautiful face blushed slightly as she greeted Lu Wenzheng shyly. Little junior brother, you're really angry for a beauty. Good fellow, you actually rushed into the Samsara temple and took Fairy Xue Wei back. However, I'm afraid you don't know that Jin Sei has brought Changxing to the War God Temple and is now in the War God Temple. Lu Wenzheng transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao, his eyes revealing a hint of schadenfreude. Jin Sei and Changxing. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Xue Wei guiltily and suddenly felt a little awkward. Ling Xiao suddenly felt his scalp tingle when he thought of Xue Wei and Jin Se meeting. Jin Se was Ling Xiao's lover in his previous life. It could be said that Jin Se was the one who supported Ling Xiao all the way to where he was today. Jin Se even gave birth to Ling Xiao's adorable daughter, Changsheng. As for Xue Wei, she was Ling Xiao's servant and also gave Ling Xiao warmth and strength. She had risked her life to save Ling Xiao many times. To Xue Wei, Ling Xiao was her everything. Although Ling Xiao went to the Samsara temple to take Xue Wei back partly because of Jin Se's idea, Ling Xiao felt a little helpless and inexplicably guilty when he thought of the two women meeting. Chapter 28:16 Battle Temple. The once barren mountain had now completely changed its appearance. This sacred mountain floating in the sky was entirely resplendent with divine light. Auspicious vapors were rising from it, and clouds and mist were faintly discernible. There were towering ancient trees on the mountain, and strange flowers and herbs could be seen everywhere. There were spiritual apes, cranes, and many other rare beasts. It looked like a paradise for immortals. There was a bamboo forest at the top of the mountain. It was lush and green, swaying in the wind and emitting crisp sounds. An exquisite courtyard was built in front of a bamboo forest. Behind the bamboo forest was a sea of clouds that stretched as far as the eye could see. The mountain breeze blew, making one feel relaxed and happy. This was Ling Xiao Pavilion, the residence of young war god Ling Xiao. Even though Ling Xiao hadn't returned for 200 years, Ling Xiao Pavilion was still as new as ever. There were people coming every day to take care of it. Ling Xiao Pavilion wasn't just a place of worship for Battle Temple, it was also the place of worship for the entire War God Temple. Everyone believed and looked forward to Ling Xiao's return. At this moment, there was a woman in a red dress standing in front of Ling Xiao Pavilion. Her clothes fluttered in the wind, and she was holding a little girl's hand. It was like a perfect picture. It was Jin Se and Changsheng. When Ling Xiao went to the Samsara temple, Jin Se left the Taishan palace and came to the War God temple, waiting for Ling Xiao's return. Looking at Ling Xiao and Xue Wei in the sky, Jin Se's lips were full of gentleness and elegance. She was calm and peaceful, and her entire person was radiating a bright light. Ling Xiao held Xue Wei's hand and landed on Battle Mountain. When Xue Wei saw Jin Se, she suddenly felt a little nervous. Her face turned slightly red. After a long time, she mustered up her courage and raised her head to call out. Sister Jin Se. Jin Se walked over slowly and held Xue Wei's hand naturally. She smiled and said, Sister Xue Wei, welcome home. These simple words filled Xue Wei's heart with a warm current, and her eyes were filled with gratitude. She had gathered all her courage to come see Jin Se with Ling Xiao. Her heart was filled with anxiety. She didn't know what Jin Se would think of her, but she still came. Sister Jin Se, Xue Wei wanted to say something but was stopped by Jin Se. Sister Xue Wei, you don't have to say it, I understand. All these years, when I wasn't by big brother Ling Xiao's side, it's all thanks to you taking care of him. You've risked your life several times for him. Big sister is very grateful. You don't have to feel sorry for me. On the contrary, I'm very grateful to have you by big brother Ling Xiao's side. Jin Se said seriously, her eyes full of sincerity. Sister Jin Se, thank you. I'm very happy. Xue Wei blushed and said emotionally. Silly girl. At our level of cultivation, we can be said to be immortal. In these long years, there are fewer and fewer people who can stay, and they are also worthy of being cherished. Moreover, since you've chosen to return to the War God Hall with big brother Ling Xiao at this time, I'm afraid it'll be extremely dangerous. Those immortal saint lands won't let this matter rest so easily. Jin Se smiled. I'm not afraid. Xue Wei said seriously. I know. Little sister Xue Wei, let's be together forever and never separate again. Changsheng, come and greet your second mother. Jin Se said with a smile. Then, she pulled little Changsheng over and said to Shui Wei. Changsheng greets second mother. Second mother, you're so beautiful. No wonder father wanted to save you. When I grow up, it'll be great if I can be as beautiful as second mother. Changsheng blinked her beautiful big eyes and tilted her little head as she said obediently. You're Changsheng. You're so cute. You'll definitely be as beautiful as sister Jean Sei in the future. When Shui Wei saw Changsheng, her eyes instantly lit up. She felt as if her heart was about to melt. She carried Changsheng up with a bright and joyful smile on her face. She hurriedly took out all kinds of rare and precious fruits for Changsheng. Changsheng also ate happily, and her little mouth became even sweeter. This made Shui Wei's heart burst with joy and she was incomparably happy. Seeing this scene in front of him, Ling Zhao's heart was finally at ease. He suddenly understood that Jean Sei's words were meant for Shui Wei and also for him. She was telling him to cherish the people in front of him. After going through so many things, as well as the separation of life and death, the most important thing was to live in the present. Brother Ling Xiao, look, Changsheng really likes Shui Wei. Jean Sei walked to Ling Zhao's side and smiled gently. Thank you, Jean Sei. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and said seriously. It's too distant to say thank you between us. I think you'd better hurry up and choose an auspicious date to marry sister Shui Wei. Jean Sei said with a smile. Marry, of course I'll marry her. I want both you and Shui Wei. I'll give you the grandest wedding. When the time comes, all the experts in the universe will come to celebrate for you. Ling Xiao nodded his head and said proudly. However, both Jean Sei and Ling Xiao knew that now wasn't the time. Not to mention the revenge of the immortal sacred grounds, the most important thing was that the great calamity of the epoch was coming. The universe would be swept up in this calamity. No one could escape from this calamity. Ling Xiao had a lot on his shoulders. He had to fight. Fight for himself, fight for the people he cared about, and fight for the human race. Jean Sei understood Ling Zhao's pressure, so she also wanted to share it with Ling Xiao as much as possible. Brother Ling Xiao, are you confident in the next battle? Don't worry. If they dare to come, they'll all be buried in my War God Hall. My War God Hall will be letting them off easy by being their burial ground. Ling Xiao and Jean Sei smiled at each other. There was no need for words. At the peak of the mountain, the bamboo forest was crisp, and the sea of clouds was faintly discernible. Resplendent sunlight shone on the sea of clouds, illuminating a golden glow. It was extremely beautiful. Ling Xiao and Jean Sei stood side by side, while Shui Wei hugged little Changsheng. The peak of the mountain was filled with laughter, forming an incomparably warm scene. No one in the War God Hall disturbed Ling Xiao. They quietly left, leaving them some space. In the distance, 9 origin source elixir rivers flowed majestically, crossing the 9 floating sacred mountains of the War God Hall. They contained an incomparably majestic origin source qi that surged into the bodies of the War God Hall members. In the void, a resplendent sun interweaved with 3,000 great Tao nomological laws, causing everyone to fall into a state of Tao comprehension. All the disciples of the War God Hall were rapidly increasing their cultivation. Their strength was rising rapidly with every passing moment. Their hearts were filled with a fire, and their eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight. They knew what they would face next, so they cultivated like crazy. They weren't afraid of death. They were only afraid that they weren't strong enough. The entire War God Temple seemed to be undergoing a complete metamorphosis. P.S. Sorry, I'll have to write less today. This is a climax plot. Mu Yu's thoughts are a little messy right now. I'll think carefully and try to write a satisfactory plot. Everyone, please forgive me. I'll write more tomorrow. Apex. Chapter 28:17. 10 days. The God realm was peaceful for 10 days. However, everyone knew that these 10 days of peace were only the calm before the storm. Soon, there would be a great war that would engulf the entire divine realm. Although the War God Hall had sealed the mountain, many strong cultivators began to appear around the War God Hall. They exuded powerful saintly way auras. They were at least saints. Those people became more and more unscrupulous. In the end, they even gave up on concealing themselves and released powerful Saint Path aura to surround the War God Hall. The various immortal holy lands were finally going to make a move. The Shangqing heavenly domain had become extremely lively. Many people from the God realm had come to the Shangqing heavenly domain, wanting to witness the great battle that would shake the entire God realm. There were a total of 4 immortal sacred grounds in the Shangqing celestial domain. They were the War God Hall, the 9 imperial gates, the 5 elements celestial sect, and the heavenly curse sect. The 9-fold imperial obelisk, the heavenly sect of 5 elements, and the heavenly curse sect had basically become the mortal enemies of the War God Hall. These 3 immortal sacred grounds had even acted as the bridgehead, sending out large groups of experts to surround the War God Hall. Mount War God had already become the center of the storm in the divine realm. Do you think the War God Temple's Emperor formation can stop the attacks of so many immortal sacred grounds? Someone commented. In the distance, the War God mountain range had already been sealed by an incomparably huge barrier. The entire War God Temple was enveloped within it. No one knew the situation inside. Everyone thought that the War God Temple was determined to fight to the death with the numerous immortal holy lands. He shouldn't be able to block it. The War God Temple's Emperor formation was known as the Primal Chaos Celestial Battle Formation. However, it was destroyed by the demon world in the battle a million years ago, so it was incomplete. This time, the various immortal holy grounds will send their emperors and extreme Tao Emperor weapons. The incomplete chaotic heavens battle formation will not be able to stop them. Someone sighed softly. Celestial Emperor. Hiss. That was most likely a supreme elite of the immortal realm. Even the 12 immortal sacred grounds and the various monarch clans don't all have imperial emperors. The imperial emperors are actually mobilizing for the War God Hall and Ling Shao. Think about it. Even celestial emperors would have to be cautious of the current Ling Shao. Ling Shao slaughtered 8 great heavenly venerables and fiercely slapped the faces of the various immortal holy lands. If they let it go just like that, I'm afraid they'll really become the laughingstock of the divine realm. That's right. Moreover, they have always coveted Ling Zhao's celestial luck and the wordless heavenly book. This time, I'm afraid they will go all out and kill Ling Zhao. I'm afraid the War God Temple and Ling Zhao are really in danger. Everyone discussed animatedly. Most of them looked down on the War God Temple and Ling Zhao. After all, the disparity in strength was too great. Although Ling Zhao had killed 8 heavenly venerables and was known as the invincible heavenly venerables, he had not broken through to the monarch realm. He was no match for an imperial emperor. What's more, the various immortal holy lands were going all out this time. Just the number of heavenly venerate powerhouses would most likely be a few dozen. Such a grand battle was already comparable to the battle a million years ago. Among the crowd, some were gloating, some were indifferent, some were worried, and some were sympathetic. However, no one could interfere in a battle of this level. Rumble. In the void, divine light shone brightly. Many powerful figures flew across the sky and stepped on the void. They looked at the War God Temple in the distance, which was enveloped by the barrier. Their eyes were like lightning, and their expressions were cold. There were more than 100 figures, and each of them exuded a majestic holy path aura. It was terrifying to the extreme. They vaguely surrounded the War God Temple. Those are, the people from the 9 imperial gates, 5 elements heaven sect, and heavenly curse sect? TSK, I didn't expect the leaders of the 3 holy lands to come. Someone exclaimed, and there was a hint of respect in his eyes. The 3 figures in the lead were the imperial masters of the 9 imperial gates, Yun Tu, 5 elements Saint Lord, and heavenly curse master. Yun Tu was the imperial master of the 9 imperial gates. He wore a golden dragon robe, an imperial crown on his head, and a pair of cloud boots on his feet. His entire body emitted a bright light, and he looked majestic and mysterious. The Five Elements Saint Lord was a handsome young man in a Taoist robe. His aura was ethereal and mysterious, and there was a faint smile on his face. The Heavenly Curse Master looked extremely old. He wore a loose black robe, and his face was full of wrinkles. His entire body was filled with a gloomy aura, and when his eyes opened and closed, they exuded a terrifying aura. Their cultivation had all reached the Heavenly Venerate realm. The three Heavenly Venerates arrived at the War God Temple menacingly and directly sealed the War God Temple. Swoosh! 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 Many figures traversed the void, holding array flags, array plates, talisman treasures, and various other treasures in their hands. They dug into the surrounding mountains, moved the mountains, and emptied the seas. They set up an array in an orderly manner. Are they setting up an array? Are they trying to break the barrier of the War God Temple with the power of an array? Someone said slowly. No. They're not trying to break the barrier with the power of an array. They're setting up the Supreme Emperor Array. They're trying to annihilate the War God Temple and leave no one alive. A formation master with an incomparably old face suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Supreme Emperor Array? How? How is this possible? Everyone was in disbelief. The Supreme Emperor Array contained extreme Emperor aura. Even an Imperial Emperor would find it difficult to set up a complete Emperor Array. How could the three immortal sacred grounds set up an Emperor Array? Nothing is impossible. I think the array they're setting up is very similar to the Great 12 Divine Fiends formation of the Chinese. If the Chinese bring the Extreme Emperor weapon, the capital Heaven Divine Fiends flag, they'll be able to complete the Great 12 Divine Fiends formation immediately. By then, no one will be able to escape from it. The old array master said with a wry smile. The Great 12 Divine Fiends formation. It seems like the Chinese are determined to destroy the War God Temple and kill Ling Xiao. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. The battle had not even begun, but there was already such a huge formation. The 9 Imperial Gates, 5 Elements Celestial Sect, and Heavenly Curse Sect were the vanguard to monitor the War God Temple's every move. At the same time, they were going to set up the Great 12 Divine Fiends formation to trap the War God Temple. Monarch Yun 2, it seems like the Great 12 Divine Fiends formation will be completed soon. When the capital Heaven Divine Fiends flag descends and suppresses the core of the formation, it'll be enough to kill anyone below the Imperial Emperor realm. The 5 Elements Sacred Lord said with a smile. The War God Temple doesn't know what's good for them. They colluded with Ling Xiao, the traitor of the human race. They don't deserve to be on the same level as us. Today, we'll use this battle to tell everyone that the sacred grounds are not to be humiliated. Monarch Yun Tu sneered coldly. That's right. The sacred grounds are not to be humiliated. Does Ling Xiao really think that he's invincible after breaking through to the Heavenly Venerable realm and killing a few Heavenly Venerables? Such an arrogant person doesn't deserve to be the chosen one of the human race. We must kill him today. The Heavenly Curse Lord said coldly. Chapter 28:18. They were the lords of the Saint Lands. Every move they made contained unfathomable heavenly might. They controlled the life and death of billions of living beings and had long cultivated an invincible force. Moreover, they had extreme Tao Emperor weapons. They were confident that even if they faced Ling Xiao, they would be able to kill him. Inside the War God Temple, everyone had a clear view of the outside world. They've gone too far. Do they really think the War God Temple is a pushover? The Pangu Heavenly Dipper's expression was cold and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Believe it. They really think the War God Temple is a pushover. The 9 Imperial Obelisk, Heavenly Curse Sect, and 5 Elements Celestial Sect have sent out 3 Heavenly Venerables, hundreds of Saint Kings, and thousands of saints. Without Ling Xiao, I'm afraid these people would be able to slaughter the War God Temple. The White Dragon Horse smiled lazily. 12 Capital Heaven Divine Fiends formation. Looks like they're waiting for the Capital Heaven Divine Fiends flag of the Chinese. Once the flag arrives and the emperor formation is set up, they're going to catch a turtle in a jar. Lu Bai's robe fluttered as a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. He also saw that the 3 immortal saint lands were setting up the 12 capital heaven divine fiends formation at a glance. Standing beside Lu Bai was an old man in a black robe with white hair and beard. His hair danced wildly in the wind, making him look very fiery. At this moment, his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Lu Bai, we can't let them set up the 12 capital heaven divine fiends formation. Otherwise, once the flag arrives, we'll all be trapped here. In my opinion, why don't we take this opportunity to kill some people and destroy the 12 capital heaven divine fiends formation? The old man in a black robe was eager to try. Old ancestor, I think we shouldn't act rashly. Junior Marshal Uncle Ling Xiao told us not to take the initiative before he went into seclusion. When he comes out, he'll have a way to solve the crisis of the War God Temple. Lu Bai smiled bitterly at the old man in a black robe. The old man in a black robe was called Zhan Feng. Celestial Master Zhan Feng was the only celestial master in the War God Temple other than Lu Bai. He had been protecting the War God Temple all these years, sheltering the War God Temple from the wind and rain. Before Lu Bai grew up, he had been guarding the War God Temple by himself. Therefore, Lu Bai had a deep respect for Zhanfeng, who was also the guardian of the War God Temple. Emperor Zhan Feng was also very famous in the entire divine realm. He had always been known as someone who did not fear death and did not value his life. He was also known by others as an old lunatic. His entire body was covered in thorns, and he was an existence that no one dared to provoke. His temper was extremely fiery. He had been suppressing his anger for a long time. When he saw Monarch Yun Tu, 5 Elements Saint Lord, and Heavenly Curse Master outside the barrier, he couldn't help but want to rush over and stomp on their faces. Ling Xiao. That little baby. Although he is the son of heaven, he killed 8 Empyreans in a row, which really shocked me. I'm afraid I'm not that little baby's match now. However, the burden on his shoulders is too heavy. The safety of the War God Temple cannot be placed on his shoulders. The people of the War God Temple dare to fight and die. If they want to destroy the War God Temple, then this old man will make them pay a price that they can't bear. Emperor Zhanfeng's battle intent rose in his eyes as he slowly spoke. He had never met Ling Xiao before. He had always been in seclusion in the War God Temple. When he came out this time, Ling Xiao was in seclusion as well. Therefore, he had only heard of Ling Xiao and had never seen him before. However, he understood that Ling Xiao had too much pressure on his shoulders. The War God Temple could not be his burden. It should be his backer. Emperor Zhanfeng's words made Pangu Tiangong's blood boil. He immediately said, "Ancestor, I'll go with you. I'll go slaughter those people who set up the formation. Since they dared to go against the War God Temple, then we'll ruthlessly tear off a few pieces of flesh from their bodies." Good boy. Not bad, not bad. You have the demeanor of this ancestor when I was young. Ha ha ha. But it's too dangerous outside. In a while, the 2 of us will kill our way out. I'll stop those 3 old things. You seize the time to destroy the formation they set up. Oh right, you can ride this dragon horse. It has extreme speed and can bring you away at a critical moment. Emperor Zhan Feng immediately felt that Pangu Tiangang was very pleasing to the eye. He beamed with joy and firmly patted Pangu Tiangong's shoulder. Ancestor, I'd better not go, right? I only have the cultivation of an ordinary saint ruler. I can't beat those bastards. I'll stay and cheer for you, ancestor. With ancestor's supreme divine might, you'll definitely be able to scare those bastards until they piss their pants. White Dragon Horse's head shrank as it smiled bitterly. It secretly cursed in its heart. Zhan Feng, this old man, was going to go out and kill people, but he still wanted to bring it along. What an old scoundrel. He was deliberately tricking it. It was determined not to go. Are you sure you don't want to go? Since you're so useless, when Ling Xiao comes out of seclusion, I'll let him send you to those immortal holy lands to quell their anger. In any case, you don't have any ability and just like to cause trouble. Those immortal holy lands will definitely be very happy to see you. Emperor Zhan Feng looked at White Dragon Horse and said with a faint smile. After hearing Emperor Zhan Feng's words, White Dragon Horse's heart suddenly quivered. It quickly licked its face and said with a smile, "Ancestor, what are you saying? I was just joking just now. If Ancestor wants to go out and kill people, of course I have to follow. Today, I'll let them know how powerful I, Heavenly King White, am." White Dragon Horse said righteously. It changed its attitude faster than flipping a book. Pangu Tiangang was speechless for a while, his face full of disdain. "You can go out with me, but don't be scared at the critical moment." Pangu Tiangang glared at White Dragon Horse and said. "Don't worry. Do you think you can catch me with your trash? I'll definitely protect you." The White Dragon Horse said confidently. Its eyes were filled with pride. Having been with White Dragon Horse for 200 years, Pangu Tiangang had long known what kind of trash White Dragon Horse was. It was simply a hooligan horse, and the kind that had no integrity at all. "In that case, Lu Bai, you'll hold the fort for us. The three of us will charge out and destroy the 12 Divine Beings' Wraith formation." Emperor Zhan Feng ignored the flattering White Dragon Horse and said to Lu Bai, his eyes full of strong fighting spirit. "All right. In that case, Ancestor, you guys be careful. I'll hold the fort for you. If there's any danger, don't stay and fight. Return immediately." Lu Bai was helpless and could only nod his head. He knew Emperor Zhan Feng's character very well. He was afraid that he would not be able to persuade him. Moreover, Lu Bai also understood that now was the best time to take the initiative to attack. Before the various immortal sacred grounds gathered, they would charge out and destroy the 12 Divine Beings' Wraith formation. It would also boost the morale of the many disciples of the War God Temple. Although Lu Bai was indifferent, he was incomparably annoyed and angry. These immortal sacred grounds were too much. Did they really think that the War God Temple would be at their mercy? Chapter 28:19. Rumble. Celestial Master Zhan Feng's body emitted a blazing light as his fighting spirit soared. A huge black saber appeared in his hand, emitting a monstrous murderous aura. He took a step forward and charged out of the range of the War God Temple's barrier. He charged out. "Three old fogies, how dare you behave so atrociously in my War God Temple? Do you really think my 400-foot saber is easy to deal with?" Celestial Master Zhan Feng roared. The black saber in his hand shone with sharp saber light. It actually turned into a huge saber that was 40 meters long. It slashed down at Monarch Yun Tu, 5 Elements Saint Master, and Heavenly Curse Master like a tsunami. "Old lunatic. You're about to die. Why aren't you hiding in the War God Temple? How dare you come out to die?" Monarch Yun Tu's eyes flashed sharply as he said coldly. Rumble. The three of them soared into the sky and unleashed a powerful saint aura. They collided with Celestial Master Zhan Feng's saber. The void trembled violently. The saber light was so sharp that it caused the void to rumble. Celestial Master Zhan Feng, Monarch Yun Tu, and the other two shuddered and retreated at the same time. "Ha ha ha. Do you think trash like you can destroy my War God Temple? Come on, I'll let you run 390 feet first. Let's see if you can dodge my 400-foot saber." Celestial Master Zhan Feng laughed loudly. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit as he pointed his huge saber at Monarch Yun Tu and the other two. "Old lunatic, since you want to die, we'll fulfill your wish. Kill him. The War God Temple will only have Lu Bai and Ling Xiao left. There's nothing to fear." Killing intent flashed through the 5 Elements Saint Lord's eyes as well. 5-colored divine light rose up from his hand and conjured a 5-colored divine mountain in the air. It crushed down on Celestial Master Zhan Feng. Guard the 12 divine beings' formation well and prevent anyone from the war god temple from destroying it. Old lunatic, don't think we don't know what you're planning. Since you're here, don't go back. The heavenly curse master sneered and pointed his bamboo cane in the air. Suddenly, a black mist spread out like a rune and shrouded celestial master Zhang Feng. Kill! Monarch Yun Tu said coldly. He slammed his palm down from the sky. Instantly, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning. It was like a punishment from the heavens, containing boundless heavenly might. Amidst the endless lightning, a mysterious figure vaguely emerged, covering the sky and suppressing towards Emperor Zhang Feng. The true body of the Thunder Emperor. Monarch Yun Tu cultivated the lightning imperial scripture and grasped the laws of lightning. His attacks were overbearing and fierce, and his combat strength was terrifying to the extreme. As soon as he attacked, it was as if a heavenly tribulation had descended, causing the surrounding void to distort violently. You want to kill me? With just you guys? Emperor Zhang Feng sneered. There was no trace of fear in his eyes. The 400-foot-long saber in his hand shone brightly, instantly stirring up a terrifying storm. It rushed towards the lords of the 3 great saint lands in a mighty manner. There was a hint of madness in his eyes. His attacks were ferocious and overbearing. He was fighting with his life on the line. He did not put up any defense. He only unleashed his powerful saber will. Every move he made was aimed at his opponent's vital points. That's Emperor Zhang Feng of the War God Temple. He's an old monster who has lived for God knows how long. However, it'll be difficult for him to fight against the lords of the 3 great saint lands alone, right? Someone exclaimed in surprise. No one had expected a great battle to break out in an instant. Originally, they thought that an intense battle would only break out when the experts of the various immortal saint lands gathered and besieged the war god temple. However, they didn't expect Emperor Zhang Feng to take the initiative and attack. The remaining saint rulers and saints all became extremely vigilant when they heard the heavenly curse lord's words. They guarded the surroundings of the 12 divine beings of the terminus and stared at the barrier of the war god hall in case someone suddenly charged in and destroyed the formation. Boom! At this moment, the void behind a saint king was silently torn open. Pangu's heavenly dipper rode on the white dragon horse and charged out. A huge mountain-splitting axe appeared in his hand, and he chopped down on the saint king's head. That saint king didn't expect someone to appear behind him. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the ordinary saint king realm. He couldn't withstand the killing blow of Pangu's heavenly dipper. Puff! Blood filled the air. His head was directly split open by Pangu's heavenly dipper. His entire body was split into 2 halves. Blood rained down from the void. Even his primordial spirit didn't have a chance to escape. It was instantly annihilated. Pangu's heavenly dipper didn't hesitate at all. He continuously chopped down with his mountain-splitting axe. The axe radiance was so sharp that it could even shatter the void. The array flag that the Saint King was guarding instantly exploded. It's Pangu King and Heavenly King Bai. Kill them! Someone roared. Suddenly, the surrounding experts revealed monstrous killing intent in their eyes. Their expressions were gloomy, and their eyes were like lightning. They all charged toward Pangu's Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse. They didn't expect Pangu's Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse to be so cunning. They silently killed a Saint King right under their noses and even destroyed an array flag. This was simply a great humiliation to him. Rumble. Boom. Hundreds of Saint Kings and thousands of saints simultaneously unleashed terrifying attacks. Divine rainbows swept across the sky as if they were going to annihilate everything. These guys are crazy. Isn't it just killing a Saint King? The White Dragon Horse and Pangu's Heavenly Dipper were also shocked. They didn't expect these guys to be so crazy. Whoosh! The White Dragon Horse's body flickered and instantly turned into a dazzling stream of light, once again disappearing into the void. Even a heavenly venerable expert wouldn't dare to take such a terrifying attack head-on. The white dragon horse had the extreme speed of teleportation. At this moment, it was like a ghost. Its speed was so fast that even the Saint Kings couldn't catch its figure. Boom! The white dragon horse carried Pangu's heavenly dipper and instantly appeared tens of thousands of feet away. There were dozens of saints looking around vigilantly, guarding an array disc. However, Pangu's heavenly dipper's body flickered with blazing light. It slapped down from the sky, smashing the dozens of saints into a bloody mist. Even the array disc was destroyed. Then, before the crowd's attack arrived, they ran away again. Ha ha ha! Awesome! How dare you come to my war god temple and behave so atrociously? I'll make sure you don't leave. Pangu's heavenly dipper's fighting spirit rose as he laughed loudly. He constantly waved the Pangu axe in his hand and rode the white dragon horse through the void. His speed was so fast that no one could lock onto him. In just a moment, a few Saint Kings and dozens of saints died in his hands. This kind of extreme killing and fighting made the blood in Pangu's heavenly dipper boil. Bang! Chapter 28-20. The actions of the white dragon horse and Pangu's celestial dipper had thoroughly enraged the experts of the three immortal sanctuaries. Sui Meng. Come, although Pangu King and Heavenly King Bai were famous and were known as the kings of the younger generation, they were nothing to the older generation. Moreover, there were hundreds of Saint Kings here, including Peak Saint Kings and Supreme Saint Kings. It was a great humiliation for them to let Pangu's celestial dipper and white dragon horse destroy so many array discs and array flags right under their noses. Void destruction. Suddenly, an old Saint King roared. Rumble. In an instant, the hundreds of Saint Kings shone brightly at the same time. Powerful space law gushed out from their bodies, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. The void shattered in an instant. Boundless turbulence in the void surged, emitting a destructive force. Pangu's celestial dipper and white dragon horse appeared before everyone. Kill them. The eyes of the Saint Kings were filled with cold murderous intent. They roared and unleashed powerful attacks towards Pangu's celestial dipper and white dragon horse. These fellows are so crazy. The white dragon horse was also startled. It did not expect the hundreds of Saint Kings to shatter the void in order to capture them. They formed a domain of great destruction, leaving white dragon horse and Pangu's celestial dipper with nowhere to hide. The white dragon horse could feel that the surrounding space had become incomparably stagnant. Even its speed of movement had slowed down by quite a bit. Good timing. Kill. Pangu's celestial dipper's eyes were filled with strong fighting spirit. The mountain-splitting axe in his hand shone brightly. In an instant, streaks of axe radiance shot out from the mountain-splitting axe, surging in all directions like a tsunami. Do you really think you can stop your grandfather with just these? White dragon horse chuckled. There was a hint of mockery in its eyes. In an instant, its body flashed and disappeared with Pangu's celestial dipper. In the next moment, they appeared in front of the Supreme Saint King. Even Pangu's celestial dipper was shocked. He did not expect the white dragon horse to be able to use the teleportation technique in the Great Destruction domain. However, he did not hesitate at all. The giant axe in his hand fell from the sky and struck the Supreme Saint King's head. Puff! Blood filled the air, and that Supreme Holy King's head was directly split into two by him. Ah! Get out of my way! The peerless Saint King roared furiously. Blazing light gushed out of his body as he slammed his palm on the Pangu's celestial handle mountain-splitting axe, creating a rumbling sound. Old man, have a taste of my Pegasus meteor hammer. I'll hammer you to death. The white dragon horse laughed and kicked the peerless Holy King's head with its hooves. The space around them shook violently as the hooves landed on the peerless Holy King's head. The Supreme Sacred King's head exploded like a watermelon. Whoosh! 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 Pangu's celestial dipper's eyes flashed sharply. He took the opportunity to slash the peerless Holy King's primordial spirit 3 times in a row. The two of them disappeared into the void in an instant. They kept teleporting, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. They attacked the experts of the 3 immortal saint lands fiercely. The attacks of over 100 saint kings were instantly destroyed. Pangu's celestial dipper and white dragon horse were naturally no match for them. However, they could not lock onto white dragon horse and Pangu's celestial dipper at all. Instead, white dragon horse and Pangu's celestial dipper took advantage of the chaos to kill a few more saint kings. Courting death. Monarch Yun Tu and the other 2 saint lords also noticed the situation. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. In just a moment, more than half of the 12 divine beings' formation was destroyed by white dragon horse and Pangu's celestial dipper. This made them shocked and angry. Rumble. Monarch Yun Tu's palm shone brightly. In an instant, a purple ancient saber rose into the sky. It shone brightly and gave off a mighty emperor's aura. It slashed down towards white dragon horse and Pangu's celestial dipper. Heavenly punishment saber. The 9 imperial gates extreme emperor weapon. When heavenly punishment saber appeared, lightning filled the sky. A destructive aura spread out. The heavenly punishment saber instantly locked onto white dragon horse and Pangu's celestial dipper. It was going to kill them both. Boom! At this moment, the war god hall shone brightly. An ancient seal gave off a mighty emperor's aura. It also soared into the sky and blocked heavenly punishment saber. Rumble. The 2 extreme emperor weapons collided. Instantly, terrifying shockwaves exploded, causing the void to rumble violently. Monarch Yun Tu, aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by the world for using an extreme emperor weapon to deal with 2 juniors? Lu Baiyi's indifferent and ethereal voice sounded. He activated the Heavenly Emperor seal and blocked Heavenly Punishment Saber's killing blow. Monarch Yun Tu. That old fart is too shameless. How dare he use Heavenly Punishment Saber to deal with us? Let's kill everyone in the 9 imperial gates first. White dragon horse's eyes flashed with murderous intent. When Heavenly Punishment Saber appeared, it felt chills all over its body. An inescapable threat of death loomed over it. If Lu Baiyi did not intervene in time, the consequences would be unimaginable. White dragon horse's vengeful nature made it extremely angry at Monarch Yun Tuesday. However, it could not defeat Monarch Yun Tuesday. Therefore, it vented its anger on the people in the 9 imperial gates. Rumble. White dragon horse carried Pangu's celestial dipper and instantly teleported behind a sage ruler. Pangu's celestial dipper unleashed its strongest battle strength. The mountain-splitting axe cleaved through the void. It also broke the sage ruler's sea of consciousness and killed his primordial spirit. White dragon horse even turned its head and smiled at Monarch Yun Tuesday. Its eyes were filled with provocation. Monarch Yun Tu's face turned ashen. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Lu Baiyi, your war god shrine is going to be destroyed today. How can you still be in the mood to talk about this? Everyone, kill them. Heavenly King Bai and King Pangu must die. Don't let them escape. Monarch Yun Tu said coldly. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, Heavenly Curse Master and 5 Elements Sacred Master were also surrounded by dazzling light. In an instant, a jade-green scepter and an ancient cauldron surrounded by 5-colored light shot into the sky and suppressed White Dragon Horse and Pangu's Celestial Dipper. Heavenly Curse Scepter and 5 Elements Cauldron. These 2 extreme Tao Emperor weapons were supreme treasures that could suppress fate. At this moment, Heavenly Curse Master and 5 Elements Sacred Master did not hesitate to use them. Celestial Dipper, Dragon Horse, go back first. Lu Baiyi's face turned serious. He quickly said to Pangu's Celestial Dipper and White Dragon Horse. Rumble. The Heavenly Emperor seal suddenly spewed out endless chaotic light. It was like a 10,000 feet tall sacred mountain, heavy and ancient. It directly crashed into the Heavenly Curse Scepter and 5 Elements Cauldron. P.S. 4th update. Everyone, rest early. We will continue tomorrow. Chapter 28-21. Kacha. The void shattered with a loud bang. Chaotic turbulence surged, and endless divine light radiated in all directions. The Heavenly Emperor's seal, the cursing scepter and the 5 elements cauldron collided and released a destructive aura. Thunder rumbled and divine chains of order intertwined with each other. The 3 extreme Tao Emperor weapons were flawless Emperor weapons. They were the supreme treasures that suppressed the immortal sanctuary and contained boundless power. Once they were fully awakened, they could even kill a heavenly master. These 3 old things are too shameless. They couldn't catch me, so they took out their extreme Tao Emperor weapons. Just you wait. Sooner or later, all of your extreme Tao Emperor weapons will fall into my hands. The white dragon horse was also shocked and its eyes were filled with fear. However, when it saw the heavenly punishment saber, the cursing scepter and the 5 elements cauldron, its eyes were blazing with desire and it was about to drool. Especially the cursed scepter that could kill people without leaving a trace. If it was combined with its extreme speed of shifting the heavens, then it would really be invincible, killing gods and demons. Go back. The Pangu's celestial body urged the white dragon horse with a solemn expression. The 12 divine beings' formation had been destroyed by the 2 of them for a while, and many of the array flags and array discs had been destroyed. It was easy to destroy them, but it was not easy to repair them. Moreover, the 2 of them had achieved great results in this battle. They had killed 7 sage kings and hundreds of sages. It was no wonder that the masters of the 3 holy sanctuaries were so exasperated that they even took out their extreme Tao Emperor weapons. You want to leave? How can it be so easy? Fellow Taoist 5 elements, you stop Lu Bai, I will kill these 2 ants. A cold light flashed across the heavenly curse master's eyes. In an instant, he stepped on the void and pounced on the Pangu's celestial body and the white dragon horse like a bolt of black lightning. At the same time, the cursing scepter in his hand shone with a strange black light. It looked like black lotuses were blooming and it shrouded the Pangu's celestial body and the white dragon horse. The heavenly curse sect was best at killing curses, let alone the heavenly curse master. Moreover, the cursing scepter contained the origin of curses and it could kill people silently. It was strange and unpredictable. Heavenly curse master, how dare you? Lu Bai's eyes were filled with murderous intent and anxiety. The Heavenly Emperor's seal suddenly expanded in the void like a huge chaotic divine mountain and crashed toward the curse master. Among the lords of the 3 holy grounds, Monarch Yun 2 and 5 elements Saint Lord might be strong, but if the white dragon horse and Pangu's celestial dipper were to encounter each other, they might be able to hold their own. However, the heavenly curse master was an old monster who was proficient in all kinds of curses. Even Lu Bai was wary of him, let alone the Pangu heavenly dipper and the white dragon horse. If they were hit by the heavenly curse master's curse, the Pangu heavenly dipper and the white dragon horse would definitely die. Lu Bai, your opponent is me. The 5 elements Saint Lord smiled. His smile was extremely bright and clear. His entire person was like a sunny youth. His clothes were as white as snow, and his temperament was extraordinary. However, he stood in front of Lu Bai and blocked his path. The 5 elemental cauldron emitted a 5-colored divine glow which appeared behind him like divine halos, making him look ethereal and mysterious. Rumble. The 5 elemental cauldron also expanded in the void and collided with the heavenly emperor seal once again. It was as if 2 immemorial divine mountains had collided in the void, causing the void to distort. Time and space started to become chaotic, and various strange and bizarre scenes appeared. Although the heavenly emperor's seal was extremely strong, it was unable to break through the 5 elemental cauldron's seal. In the void, the extreme Tao emperor aura intertwined and released terrifying fluctuations. Even the extreme Tao emperor weapon has been summoned. Looks like the war god temple is really going all out. Someone exclaimed in surprise. So what if they are going all out? Pangu King and Heavenly King Bai are definitely going to die this time. The Heavenly Curse Master is personally attacking with the Curse Scepter. How are they going to dodge it? That's right. Although the Heavenly Curse Master is bullying the weak, this is a sect extermination battle. He can't care so much about it. Everyone's faces were pale. Although they were far away from the center of the battle, the terrifying fluctuations made their bodies tremble and their hearts palpitate. However, they had a premonition that the Pangu Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse were definitely going to die this time. Rumble. The Pangu Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse were indeed facing the greatest threat. The black lotuses floated around them, and streams of black and cold aura merged into their bodies, causing their bodies to become extremely stiff. Although the Pangu Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse were trying their best to resist, their cultivation was still too weak. There was no way they could withstand the Heavenly Curse Master's Curse Scepter. Damn it! This is the Heavenly Curse Scepter. White Dragon Horse, I will burn my origin bloodline to break the Heavenly Curse Scepter. I will block the Heavenly Curse Master for you. You go into the barrier and look for Ling Xiao. The Pangu Heavenly Dipper's face was extremely solemn as he quickly transmitted his voice to the White Dragon Horse. You want me to be a deserter? Impossible. Although I, Heavenly King Bai, am afraid of death, I will never abandon my comrades. Don't pretend to be a hero here. Quickly break the Heavenly Curse Scepter and I will bring you out of here. I will fight with all my might this time. The White Dragon Horse's eyes revealed a hint of madness as it spoke. At this moment, the Heavenly Curse Master had already arrived in front of the Pangu Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse. His face was extremely cold, and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. The curse scepter in his hand, in particular, was emitting a jade green light that gave off the aura of death. Insignificant ants. Today, I will use your lives to announce the demise of the War God Temple. The Heavenly Curse Master said sinisterly. He raised the curse scepter and smashed it down from the sky. Boom! The Pangu Heavenly Dipper's body suddenly emitted a pure golden flame that seemed to be burning with golden flames. An ancient and noble aura gushed out, and the black Heavenly Curse Scepter in his body instantly dissipated like snow. He directly grabbed the White Dragon Horse and teleported into the War God Temple. Quick! Only 10,000 feet left. The Pangu Heavenly Dipper said anxiously. His entire body seemed to have turned into a golden man. He was like a golden lightning bolt, and his speed was extremely fast. 10,000 feet was covered in an instant for him. However, the curse scepter behind him made the Pangu Heavenly Dipper feel that the void had begun to solidify, and time had become extremely slow. He could even hear the blood flowing in his body. His muscles were contracting, and his heart was beating faster. Peak. Chapter 28-22. Did you burn Emperor Pangu's bloodline? But it's useless. From today onwards, Emperor Pangu's bloodline will be completely cut off. The Heavenly Curse Master sneered. Rumble. The curse scepter fell from the sky like a surging black sea. The terrifying curse origin source was silent, but it contained the power to destroy everything. It was going to drown the Pangu's celestial body and the White Dragon Horse. Ling Xiao, aren't you going to make a move? I'm going to be beaten to death. Hurry up and kill this old thing and take his curse scepter as compensation for my mental state. The White Dragon Horse suddenly roared towards the sky. Its voice was extremely anxious. It was furious. Although it couldn't see the situation in the War God Temple, it was sure that Ling Xiao was watching the battle from the War God Temple. It wanted nothing more than to ruthlessly kick Ling Xiao's handsome face a few times. This bastard always liked to make a move at the most critical moment just to show off. Ling Xiao. Even if he appears, it won't change anything. You're still going to die. The Heavenly Curse Master sneered. Is that so? At this moment, a faint voice sounded in the void. Buzz! From the huge barrier of the War God Shrine, a resplendent sun suddenly shot out. It was surrounded by endless golden light and shrouded in chaotic mist. Thousands of strands of order and divine light pierced through the layers of darkness and dispersed the surging curse origin energy. Then, it violently collided with the curse scepter. It was an enormous fist that was peerlessly ferocious, domineering, and fierce. It was coiled with an eternal and indestructible aura, and it even held an ancient stone tablet. It smashed through the sky in an extremely violent manner, and it was fierce to the extreme. Rumble. In the void, the extreme emperor's aura gushed out. The cursed scepter trembled violently as if hundreds of millions of thunderbolts had exploded at the same time. The cursed scepter was sent flying. Ling Xiao. The heavenly curse master's eyes surged with killing intent and his face instantly turned ugly. The scepter of curses flew back and floated above his head. It spat out the power of curses, but it was in vain. And the one who stopped him was Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao wielded heaven's might like a prison monument and unleashed a ferocious punch that broke the heavenly curse lord's killing blow. Rumble. Ling Xiao stepped out from the war god shrine. His aura surged and emitted a resplendent light. His black hair fluttered and his aura was incomparably sharp. He stepped through the air as if he was pushing the sun, moon, and stars. His entire being emitted an invincible aura. The moment Ling Xiao appeared, it was as if he instantly became the focal point of the world. Heavenly Curse Sect. A group of rats hiding in the dark dares to behave atrociously in my war god temple. Ling Xiao stared at the heavenly curse master. His eyes were indifferent, but his voice boomed like thunder in the void. He didn't hide it at all. The aura around him was terrifying to the extreme. He shot up into the sky like a divine rainbow. His cultivation of the celestial venerable realm was completely displayed in front of everyone. Hiss. Was this the heaven's chosen one, Ling Xiao? A short 200 years, time actually let him cultivate to the realm of Empyrean. Truly too horrifying. Someone exclaimed and sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao and felt a vast aura surging toward them. It was like the brilliance of the heavens. They couldn't help but feel a sense of reverence. Many people had heard of Ling Xiao but had never seen him before. Now that they had seen him, they couldn't help but admire his peerless bearing. Such a person was truly worthy of being the heaven's chosen one. Unfortunately, why did he have to become sworn enemies with the various immortal sacred grounds to the point where they would fight to the death? Many people's eyes were filled with regret. Ling Xiao, you still dare to come out? No matter how strong your combat strength is, you'll be reduced to ashes today along with the war god shrine. The heavenly curse master said coldly with a trace of killing intent in his eyes. He had never fought with Ling Xiao before, so he didn't take Ling Xiao seriously. However, Ling Xiao's punch made him feel extremely threatened. Reduced to ashes? I'm not sure if I'll be reduced to ashes, but I'm afraid you won't be able to see it. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Rumble. Blazing golden light rose around him as his fighting spirit gushed out. He charged toward the heavenly curse master with a mighty purple aura that covered a distance of 30,000 miles. At the same time, the heaven's might was ancient and mysterious. It soared in the void like a mountain and suddenly pressed down on the heavenly curse master. Ling Xiao, you're about to die. How dare you be so arrogant? When the experts from the immortal sacred grounds arrive, you'll definitely die. Get lost. The heavenly curse master's face changed and his eyes were filled with gloomy killing intent. He instantly soared into the sky with the curse scepter in his hand. Powerful emperor's might gushed out as the curse scepter swung toward the heaven's might. Rumble. When the curse scepter hit the heaven's might, the emperor's might exploded and swept out like a chain of order, causing the void to tremble violently. Even Ling Xiao and the heavenly curse master were no match for the power of the extreme path. They were sent flying. Ling Xiao's expression was indifferent. He stepped into the void and charged toward the heavenly curse master again. It was fine if Ling Xiao did not make a move, but once he made a move, it was like a tsunami, containing an unfathomable pressure. The heavenly curse lord felt as if he had been locked down by Ling Xiao. He felt cold all over and his heart palpitated. He clenched his teeth, unleashed his strongest cultivation, and charged towards Ling Xiao. As the sacred master of the heavenly curse sect and a veteran heavenly venerable, he was extremely powerful. Not only had he comprehended the heavenly curse scripture, but he had also cultivated several powerful emperor techniques. Ordinary heavenly venerables were no match for him. Ling Xiao's domineering words made it seem as if he was already dead. The heavenly curse master was infuriated and his fighting spirit and killing intent surged. Crack! The heavenly curse master murmured something and a strange sound wave spread out. The space around him twisted and black fog gushed out. In an instant, it looked like a black dragon. It swept across the space and pounced on Ling Xiao. The power of curse? Interesting. A gleam of light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. He could sense that while the black mist seemed extremely clear, it did not seem to exist in this place. It was like the laws of the world had manifested. It was unaffected by any power and directly surged into Ling Xiao's body. That was the power of curse. The Tao of curse used talismans and incantations to communicate with the great Tao of heaven and earth and perform unfathomable remarkable powers. Just like the Panga's celestial body and the white dragon horse, they could not resist the power of curse. Apex. Chapter 28-23. Boom. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by a purple aura. His body was crystal clear like a divine kingdom and filled with an immortal glow. He didn't dodge the attack at all. Instead, he walked towards the heavenly curse lord and punched the air. He had no intention of dodging the power of the curse. When the strange black fog touched Ling Xiao's body and tried to enter, it was blocked by a bright and translucent light. Then, it melted like snow. Ling Xiao's ferocious fist was extremely sharp as it blasted towards the heavenly curse lord's head. Crack! The void shattered. The heavenly curse lord's expression changed. He didn't expect his extremely strange curse technique to be ineffective against Ling Xiao. It couldn't even break Ling Xiao's body. There was no way for him to dodge Ling Xiao's punch. His body shook violently and he was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Ling Xiao's unparalleled fist force surged into the heavenly curse lord's body. The heavenly curse lord's meridians and bones seemed to be shattered. Ling Xiao's body was invincible. The heavenly curse lord couldn't withstand his unparalleled fist force. Monarch Yun Tu and the five elements Saint Lord's expressions changed when they saw the heavenly curse lord being heavily injured from the first exchange. Their eyes were filled with solemnity. The heavenly punishment saber and the five elements cauldron shone with dazzling light as if they wanted to support the heavenly curse lord. Ha ha ha. Ling Xiao, little kid, not bad. You're worthy of being a member of the War God Hall. Hurry up and kill the heavenly curse lord. Don't worry about these two old things. They won't be able to interfere with you. Celestial Master Zhangfeng laughed heartily. His attacks were overbearing and sharp. He fought fiercely with Monarch Yun Tuesday. Each of his punches and moves contained a demonic aura. Monarch Yun Tu was in a passive position and couldn't escape in a short time. Lu Bai also held the Heavenly Emperor's seal and blocked the five elements Saint Lord. The Heavenly Emperor's seal collided with the five elements cauldron in the air. Every strike was like a tsunami, erupting with destructive energy waves. Damn it! Monarch Yun Tu and the five elements Saint Lord's expressions were extremely ugly. They looked at each other and their eyes were filled with shock and anger. The three immortal holy lands were the vanguard. Previously, they had agreed that the three immortal holy lands would be the first to act. They would seal the War God Hall and prevent the War God Hall's people from escaping. They would also set up the 12 capital heaven divine fiend formation. But what they didn't expect was that not only did the people from the War God Temple not wait for death, they actually dared to take the initiative to attack. They didn't put the three holy lands in their eyes at all. Exalted celestial masters of wind and lightning, help the heavenly curse master kill Ling Xiao. Monarch Yun Tu suddenly roared. Rumble. Suddenly, the space in the distance shattered, and two figures with terrifying auras came through the air, directly pouncing towards Ling Xiao. 9 imperial obelisks, celestial venerable wind and celestial venerable thunder. They had been hiding in the dark. Now that monarch Yun Tu had spoken, they attacked without hesitation. Celestial Masters of Water and Fire, help the Heavenly Curse Master kill Ling Xiao. The 5 Elements Saint Lord also shouted. In the distance, an old man in a red robe and an old man in a black robe came through the air. Blazing divine light rose around them, containing the great Tao of fire and water. They were also 2 celestial masters, and they charged towards Ling Xiao. Ha ha ha! Ling Xiao, do you really think you can kill me? Exalted celestial master of wind and lightning, show yourself. Today, we will kill Ling Xiao first. The Heavenly Curse Master suddenly laughed coldly. Terrifying aura surged around him, and black divine chains of order appeared in the air, wrapping around Ling Xiao. At the same time, 2 celestial masters appeared behind the Heavenly Curse Master. Rumble. In an instant, 6 celestial masters arrived at the same time and joined the Heavenly Curse Master. They vaguely surrounded Ling Xiao. Their gazes were like lightning, and their expressions were cold and filled with murderous intent. It turned out that the 3 immortal sanctuaries did not send 3 celestial masters this time, but 9 celestial masters. The 7 celestial masters, led by the Heavenly Curse Master, all exuded a vast and terrifying aura that locked onto Ling Xiao. Hiss! 7 celestial masters are besieging Ling Xiao. Are they going to kill Ling Xiao now? Someone exclaimed in surprise. You have underestimated Ling Xiao. So what if they are 7 celestial masters? In the Samsara Temple, 8 celestial masters besieged Ling Xiao, but they were all killed by him. Someone who was still full of confidence in Ling Xiao sneered coldly. It's different this time. The Heavenly Curse Master has the Cursed Scepter, an ultimate emperor weapon. Although Ling Xiao is strong, how can he withstand the siege of so many celestial masters? Someone retorted. Everyone's expression became incomparably grave. They could vaguely sense that a great battle was about to erupt before the various immortal holy lands had gathered. Ling Xiao looked at the 7 celestial masters and smiled faintly. You want to kill me with just 7 celestial masters? I'm afraid you guys are just daydreaming, right? Don't hide anymore. Those who are hiding in the dark can all come out now. Ling Xiao looked at the void in the distance. His eyes were bright and sharp. He could sense that there were extremely obscure auras in the void. Although they were concealed, Ling Xiao could still sense them. The people from the immortal sanctuaries must have gathered. Rumble. As soon as Ling Xiao finished speaking, the sky exploded. Endless divine light gushed out and chaotic mist surged. A huge door seemed to have appeared in the sky. Figures with terrifying auras appeared in the sky, causing the void to tremble violently. The powerful auras were like heavenly sovereigns. As soon as they appeared, the great path of heaven and earth trembled and resonated with them. Everyone felt a great pressure. Their bodies trembled uncontrollably, and their hearts palpitated. The Hua tribe, the Samsara Temple, the Spacetime Heavenly Gate, the Annihilation Temple, the Darkness Heavenly Sect. The 5 immortal sanctuaries and the monarch tribes have all arrived. Someone glanced at the void and trembled all over. Even his voice was trembling. Figures with terrifying auras appeared in the void. They released powerful auras without restraint. They intertwined with each other as if they were going to reopen the heavens and earth and recreate the chaos. The 5 great factions were clearly separated. They all rushed out of the void and appeared in the sky above the War God Hall. The 5 immortal sanctuaries and the monarch tribes had turned out in full force. There were a total of 5,000 saints, 500 saint kings, and 15 celestial masters. The 5 figures in the lead looked cold and their eyes were like lightning. They all held extreme Tao Emperor weapons in their hands. Their auras were terrifying and they exuded domineering energy fluctuations. The lords of the 5 great sanctuaries had all arrived. Especially the Samsara Master who was in the middle. Ling Xiao felt a strong sense of threat. An emperor? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply, and his gaze fell on the Samsara Master. Chapter 28-24. The master of samsara was a middle-aged man in a black robe. He was tall and handsome, and his face was dignified and cold. As he blinked, a mysterious scene of the reincarnation of all living beings seemed to appear. He stepped on the void, and his body seemed to be able to hold up the sky. He contained a terrifying energy fluctuation as if an ancient great emperor had been reborn. His aura was monstrous and he ruled over all living beings. Ling Xiao felt an aura from him that was different from that of a celestial master. It was the power of the origin of the Great Path. The origin of the Great Path was also the extremity of the Great Path. An imperial emperor. The samsara master was already an expert in the imperial emperor realm. He exuded a vast and oppressive power, as if the entire world was pressing down on Ling Xiao. Hiss! The master of samsara has broken through to the imperial emperor realm. Ling Xiao is dead for sure, and the war god temple is destined to be wiped out. An imperial emperor who has touched the supreme divine realm. Who in this world can fight against him? Someone exclaimed. His voice was trembling, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. The Chinese and the 7 immortal holy lands had all come. The 8 superpowers were determined to kill Ling Xiao and destroy the war god temple. Therefore, they had sent out 24 celestial masters, more than 600 saint kings, and close to 10,000 sages. With such a terrifying number, it could be said that the 8 super forces had turned out in full force. Such a terrifying force was enough to start a fierce war with the demon clan. Now, these people had come to deal with the war god temple and Ling Xiao. You are Ling Xiao. You are indeed ambitious. You have great strength, but you don't want to repay the human clan. Instead, you dare to stir up trouble and kill the experts of the human clan. Scum like you don't deserve to be the chosen one of the human clan. Today is the day you die. The master of samsara said indifferently. His eyes were deep and contained a cold killing intent. His voice rumbled in the void like thunder. It contained a vast heavenly might, causing the surrounding people to turn pale and their hearts to palpitate. How ridiculous! Do you have to find so many dignified reasons to kill me? 200 years ago, I won the heavenly Tao fate in the Heaven's Choice Convention and became the Heaven's chosen child. You greedy people conspired for my wordless heavenly book and heavenly Tao fate, besieging me in the Ling Xiao mountain range. At that time, you framed me as a spy of the demon race. 200 years have passed, but it seems that you haven't made any progress. Ling Xiao sighed softly, his eyes filled with mockery. Ling Xiao, you are about to die, and you still dare to quibble. 200 years ago, you slaughtered the geniuses of the human clan in the Chosen One meeting. Hua Ziang and Hua Tianxiong were killed by you. If you hadn't used such despicable means, do you think you're worthy of being the Chosen One? The head of the Hua clan sneered. He was wearing a luxurious purple robe and looked extraordinarily heroic. His purple hair was tied up with a jade crown and his entire body was emitting an unfathomable aura. Runes rose around him, as if there were mysterious scenes of formations being created and destroyed, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. That's right. Ling Xiao, what makes you worthy of being the chosen one of the human clan? 200 years ago, you didn't repent and killed many experts of the immortal sanctuary. 10 days ago, you killed Hua Dijia, wreaked havoc in the Samsara temple, and killed 8 holy masters. How are you any different from the demon clan? The sacred lord of the spacetime heavenly sect, an old man with white hair and a horsetail whisk, said coldly. Hua Dijia is the chosen one of the god realm. When he grows up in the future, he will be the hope of fighting against the demon clan. There are also 8 holy masters. How many demon clan experts can they kill on the battlefield in the future? Ling Xiao, are you so vicious that you destroyed the pillar of the human clan? Today, we are enforcing justice on behalf of the human clan and killing a scum like you. The sacred lord of the darkness heavenly sect sneered. Scum like you, what right do you have to be the chosen one of the human clan? What right do you have to possess the wordless heavenly book? Today, you will die. Ling Xiao, surrender quickly if you know what's good for you. Otherwise, when you fall into our hands, we will make you beg for death. Combat God Hall, you are in cahoots with Ling Xiao. Do you still want to resist? Don't think that a broken chaotic heavens battle formation can stop us. The holy masters of the 8 super forces sneered. Baleful auras rose from their bodies, and their eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. In their opinion, there was no doubt about the outcome of this battle. Although Ling Xiao was powerful, there were 24 holy masters and a peerless emperor like the reincarnation master. Moreover, the 8 super forces had brought along the supreme emperor weapon that was used to protect the fate of the world. Not to mention that Ling Xiao was only a heavenly venerate. Even if Ling Xiao had broken through to the imperial lord realm, he would still be able to suppress Ling Xiao without any suspense. The words of the Samsara Master and the Chinese Patriarch were full of righteousness, as if Ling Xiao was an unpardonable devil that everyone had the right to kill. The White Dragon Horse, Pangu Tiangang, Holy Master Zhanfeng, and the others were furious. Even Lu Bai, who had a calm temperament, could not help but turn ashen at this moment. Anger and killing intent surged in his eyes. These immortal holy lands still had such repulsive faces. They coveted Ling Xiao's heavenly luck and the wordless heavenly book. They were clearly acting like bandits, but they pretended to be enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens, acting righteous and occupying the moral high ground. Wow, wow, wow. This is so infuriating. I have never seen such shameless people. You bunch of hypocrites, do you really think you can shut the mouths of the people in the world? The White Dragon Horse was so angry that it trembled and roared. You despicable and shameless people, stop talking nonsense. You are disgusting. If you want to kill Ling Xiao and destroy the Combat God Hall, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Holy Master Zhanfeng was so angry that he trembled. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He exuded a crazy fluctuation as if he was ready to attack at any time. Only Ling Xiao looked extremely calm. He had seen the ugly faces of these immortal sacred lands 200 years ago. They wanted to be a bitch and yet they wanted to be chaste. Samsara Master, do you really think you can kill me? Ling Xiao looked at the Samsara Master and said flatly. Of course. I can't think of any reason why you can still live. Including you, there are only 3 holy masters in the Combat God Hall. The others are not worth mentioning. Do you think you can still put up a fight with the chaotic celestial battle formation and 2 supreme emperor weapons? The Samsara Master said flatly. His eyes were cold. Chapter 28-25. Master of Samsara, you immortal sacred lands are really shameless. The Chinese and the 7 immortal sacred lands attacked me at the same time. You really think highly of me. You keep saying that you want to kill me. Do you dare to fight me fairly? Don't implicate the War God Temple. They are innocent. Let's fight to the death. Ling Xiao sighed softly. His eyes were extremely sharp as he looked directly at the Master of Samsara. Don't you think it's too late to not implicate the War God Temple at this time? Ling Xiao, you are too naive. Is there any fairness in this world? Is there any innocence? Everything is false. Only power is eternal. The War God Temple did nothing wrong, but because of you, you implicated the War God Temple. Therefore, the War God Temple will be destroyed because of you. The Master of Samsara said coldly. His eyes were filled with cruelty. Do you mean that I have a grudge against all of you? If I have enough power, I can kill all of you. Ling Xiao said calmly. That's right. If you have the power of a supreme emperor, you can kill all of us with one word. At that time, your words will be the truth, and everyone will have to abide by them. But unfortunately, you are not strong enough. You are too weak. Weakness is a sin. It is a sin for a weak person to possess a treasure. That is a sin. The Master of Samsara said to Ling Xiao in an inaudible voice with a hint of mockery in his eyes. He had said so much because he hoped to see panic, fear, and pleading in Ling Xiao's eyes. He hoped that Ling Xiao would kneel in the face of death and beg him to spare his life. Unfortunately, he was disappointed. He did not see what he wanted to see. Ling Xiao's eyes were still very calm. That calmness even made him feel uneasy. You are right. Weakness is a sin. In this world, the strong are respected. I only wanted to kill the culprit and not implicate the innocent. But unfortunately, because of you, not only will you die, but the 8 superpowers will also be destroyed. Ling Xiao said seriously. You want to kill us? You want to destroy the Chinese and the 7 immortal sacred lands? Ling Xiao, are you dreaming? Ha ha ha. The Samsara master laughed loudly. His eyes were filled with incomparable coldness. Cold killing intent surged around him. Although it did not achieve the effect he had expected, it seemed that Ling Xiao was not going to give up without a fight. Since that was the case, he would personally take action and completely destroy all of Ling Xiao's hopes and wishful thinking. He would make Ling Xiao sink into the abyss of hell and never be reincarnated. Rumble. Just then, the void shook violently. A ray of sword light shot through the sky, carrying with it a destructive force that was terrifying to the extreme. It is the greatest shame of the human race to have selfish scums like you. If you want to kill Ling Xiao, you'll have to get through me first. A sharp and bright voice rang out, like the clanging of a sword. 2 figures appeared in the void. One was an old man in a black robe with an unfathomable aura. The other was a young man in a black robe. Although his appearance was ordinary, the sharp sword intent that he emitted caused everyone's hearts to tremble. It's the invincible king, Dugu Qiubai. Someone exclaimed, recognizing the young man in a black robe. He was one of the kings of the gods in recent years, the invincible king, Dugu Qiubai. It's not just Dugu Qiubai. The old leader of the Hero Alliance, Dugu Ju, is here too. The Hero Alliance is here to rescue Ling Xiao and the War God Temple. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. The Hero Alliance could be said to be both good and evil in the god world. Most of their activities were in the battlefield of the gods and demons. They had killed many experts of the demon race, but they were viewed as enemies by many immortal sanctuaries. The Hero Alliance had become stronger over the years, but they were still lacking compared to the immortal sanctuaries. However, the old leader of the Hero Alliance, Dugu Ju, was a super expert. He was an old monster in the Heavenly Master realm. His strength was unparalleled, and he protected the members of the Hero Alliance from being killed by the immortal sanctuaries. More importantly, after Dugu Ju abdicated, the new leader was Dugu Qiubai, who was known as the Invincible King. Ever since he came into being, he had experienced countless battles and competed with many geniuses. He had never lost a single battle, which was why he was known as the Invincible King. Senior Dugu. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he looked surprised. He did not expect Dugu Qiubai to come to his rescue at this time, and it warmed his heart. Dugu Qiubai's sword will had become purer and sharper after 200 years. Ling Xiao could feel that Dugu Qiubai's cultivation had reached the level of a supreme holy king. He was only one step away from becoming a celestial master. Ha ha ha. Well said. These despicable hypocrites, I have long hated them. Do you think you can defeat my brother? At this moment, another burst of hearty laughter rang out in the air. An extremely chubby young man in tattered robes broke through space and arrived. It was just that his face looked very ugly, the kind of ugliness that could shock the world and make ghosts and gods weep. It was simply too horrible to look at. However, there was a sense of pride between his brows, and his entire body emitted an aura of supremacy. Heavenly King Ling, Yu Yangchen. That jinx is here too. Someone exclaimed, and his eyes were filled with fear. When the crowd saw Yu Yangchen, they could not help but back off, fearing that they would not be able to get close to Yu Yangchen. When the Chinese saw Yu Yangchen, their eyes turned red, and they were filled with murderous intent and hatred. Yu Yangchen was the murderer of Hua Xiong. The Chinese did not expect Yu Yangchen to not hide, and he even dared to come to Ling Xiao's rescue. Rumble. After Yu Yangchen appeared, several figures with powerful auras appeared in the sky. Tao Lord Extermination from the Supreme Tao Palace had arrived, and he had brought along 2 heavenly masters, dozens of king sages, and thousands of sages. Their auras covered the sky, and their domineering auras covered the sky. Other than the people from the Supreme Tao Palace, there was a woman in golden armor with a halberd in her hand. She looked valiant, and her entire body was emitting golden light. Her face was extremely beautiful, and her entire body was emitting a powerful battle intent. Behind her was an old woman in a black robe. She was extremely old, and her entire body was emitting a lethargic aura. However, her aura was extremely terrifying. She was also a heavenly master. Tao Lord Extermination is here. Did the Supreme Tao Palace choose to stand with the War God Temple and fight side by side at this time? Look at that woman in golden armor. She is the young master of the Golden Emperor clan, Yi Qingcheng. The Golden Emperor clan is also involved. Everyone was discussing animatedly, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Originally, they thought that Ling Xiao and the War God Temple had fallen into a desperate situation. They did not expect that in the blink of an eye, someone would come to help. Third Sect Leader. Chapter 28-26. The Taisheng Dao Palace and the War God Temple had always been allies. Although their relationship had been a little strange in the past 200 years, it was related to the survival of the War God Temple. Everyone was filled with emotions when they saw the Tao Lord Extermination come to their aid. However, the Golden Emperor clan had always lived in seclusion and had nothing to do with the War God Temple. Why would they come to the War God Temple's aid? Samsara Master, you've already broken through to the Imperial Emperor realm. Why are you still staying in the Divine World? It's fine if you don't go to the extraterritorial battlefield, but how dare you interfere in the conflict of the Divine World? Aren't you afraid of being punished by Lord Kunwu? The Tao Lord Extermination stared at the Samsara Master and said coldly. The 12 immortal sacred grounds are the pillars of the human tribe. Aren't you afraid of the wrath of the Imperial Emperors if you dare to destroy the War God Temple? Besides, Ling Xiao is the chosen one of the human tribe. If you insist on dealing with Ling Xiao, you'll only make a fool of yourself in front of the demon tribe. Yi Qingcheng looked at the masters of the sacred grounds and said seriously. The Samsara Master sneered in the face of the Tao Lord Extermination and Yi Qingcheng's questioning. Don't use Lord Kunwu to scare me. I've just broken through, and even Lord Kunwu can't say anything about me staying in the Divine World for a few days. I advise you not to get involved. I don't want to be enemies with the Taisheng Dao Palace and the Golden Emperor clan, but it doesn't mean that I'm afraid of you. It's useless to say more. Since you insist on fighting, then let's fight. If you want to kill Ling Xiao, you'll have to get through me first. The Tao Lord Extermination said coldly, and there was a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. Ling Xiao is my good friend. I can't let you hurt him. Yi Qingcheng sighed and said firmly. Rumble. Dugu Qiubai, Yi Liangchen, Annihilation Tao Lord, Yi Qingcheng, and the others all unleashed their powerful auras at the same time. Their bodies glowed with divine light as their battle-intent soared. They stood by Ling Xiao's side and were determined to fight alongside him. Why do you have to do this? Ling Xiao sighed and said helplessly, but there was a trace of gratitude in his eyes. They knew that they were going to die, but they still rushed to rescue him. They were willing to fight against the Chinese and the 7 immortal sacred grounds. Ling Xiao, could it be that you think they'll be able to save the War God Temple and save you? I originally thought that you had some sort of backup plan, but now it seems that you're really disappointing. The Samsara Master stared at Ling Xiao and sneered. His eyes were full of disdain. Aren't they enough? Ling Xiao muttered to himself. Not enough. The Samsara Master said coldly. Since that's the case, then just come out. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Rumble. He waved his hand, and suddenly, the void shook violently. The heavenly might was like a prison monument, and in an instant, it bloomed with boundless light. The huge barrier that enveloped the War God Temple disappeared. Ling Xiao, I'm about to die from anxiety. Is it finally my turn? Come, come, come. I want to see which reckless fool dares to harm you. Wash your necks and wait for me to chop you to death. An arrogant and domineering voice sounded. In an instant, the void shook violently. The old goat and Taoist Wuliang rushed out of the war god temple. The aura around them was terrifying. Both of their cultivations had reached the king sage realm, and they were supreme king sages. Most importantly, they were followed by thousands of figures with terrifying auras. Each of them exuded a vast holy path aura, causing the surrounding void to shake violently. There were 4 holy masters, hundreds of king sages, and thousands of supreme sages and sages. This was the power of the devouring mountain. Cousin, who was the one who offended you? Today, we'll kill them until their blood flows like a river. I think you should have been the master of the deity world long ago. It's best to kill all these eyesores. Long Outyan's arrogant and domineering voice sounded. Rumble. A terrifying aura rose around him. He wore a golden dragon robe and a flat imperial crown. He held the ancestral dragon sword in his hand and wore a pair of cloud dragon boots. His aura was majestic and domineering. He was like the dragon emperor on patrol, exuding a domineering aura that could suppress and sweep the world. Behind him were the experts of the 5 great sacred tribes. Phoenix Maiden, Huangju, Xuanji, Bai Hansong, and the others were all present. There were more than 10,000 holy path experts in the sky. Their terrifying aura seemed to be able to annihilate everything, causing the surrounding void to shake violently. Most importantly, those 10 terrifying figures that resembled suns were all Empyrean realm powerhouses. They were the experts of the Dragon tribe, the Phoenix tribe, the White Tiger tribe, the Black Tortoise tribe, and the Qilin tribe. With Long Outyan as the leader, they charged into the deity world. Greetings, Demon Lord. Greetings, Demon Lord. Greetings, Demon Lord. With the old goat, Taoist Wuliang, and Long Outyan in the lead, the experts of the Devouring Mountain and the 5 great sacred tribes bowed to Ling Xiao. Their voices were like thunder that shook the 9 heavens, causing the surrounding people to tremble. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Experts of the demon realm? How could the experts of the demon realm break through the barrier of the deity world and come to Ling Xiao's aid? Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Demon Lord. Are they calling for Ling Xiao? When did Ling Xiao become the Demon Lord? Something big is going to happen. So many experts of the demon realm have come to the deity world. Is this the prelude to a war between the 2 realms? This is too terrifying. How could Ling Xiao be so powerful? The demon realm actually sent 14 holy masters to rescue Ling Xiao. It's hard to tell the outcome of this battle. Everyone was stunned. They never thought that there would be such a reversal. The experts of the demon realm actually came to rescue Ling Xiao and sent such a terrifying force. What would the 8 great sacred tribes do? The Samsara Master and the others were also shocked. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Ling Xiao, you actually colluded with the demon realm. It seems that I was right. You really did betray the human tribe. But do you think these people will be able to save your life? The Samsara Master's eyes were filled with cold murderous intent as he stared at Ling Xiao. A terrifying aura rose around him, causing the surrounding void to vibrate violently. It was as if he was going to strike at any moment and kill Ling Xiao. If they're not enough, what about us? At this moment, a cold and indifferent voice rang out in the void. Crack! Above the monument, an incomparably resplendent door of light appeared. A peerless beauty walked out. She was extremely beautiful. Her entire body exuded a soul-stirring sense of beauty. Behind her, horrifying figures appeared in the air, covering the sky and covering the sun. Vast and mighty demonic aura spread out, causing the surrounding void to distort violently. An army of 100,000. Moreover, each figure had the cultivation of a sage. Their auras were extremely terrifying. Other than the beautiful woman, there were 9 other figures as bright as the sun. They emitted a dazzling radiance. Their cultivation had also reached the Holy Master realm. Ni Chang King, the subordinate of the Lord of Demons, greets the Demon Lord. Song Bai King, the subordinate of the Lord of Demons, greets the Demon Lord. Lu King, the subordinate of the Lord of Demons, greets the Demon Lord. Peony King, the subordinate of the Lord of Demons, greets the Demon Lord. Ba Ji King, the subordinate of the Lord of Demons, greets the Demon Lord. Thunderous voices exploded in the void. They gathered together like a tsunami and swept toward everyone. Everyone's faces instantly turned pale. Their eyes widened, and their eyes were filled with incomparable horror. P.S. I'm out of town on a business trip. I've just finished the 3rd chapter. It's a little late. Everyone, rest early. 3rd Sect Leader. Chapter 28-27. Rumble. Above the void, there were 10 figures led by Ni Shang, King Pine Cypress, King Willow, King Peony, and King Eight Pole. They were all heavenly venerables, and each of them exuded an unfathomable aura. It was as though there were 10 suns in the sky, causing the entire realm of the gods to tremble violently. Behind them, there was an army of 100,000. Each of them exuded a powerful holy path aura. They were all sages. An army of 100,000 sages. How terrifying was that? Even the 8 super forces combined did not have an army of 100,000 sages. How could Ling Xiao control such a terrifying force? Everyone in the realm of the gods was stunned. Their bodies trembled uncontrollably as they looked at Ling Xiao's figure in the sky, their eyes filled with disbelief and respect. It turned out that Ling Xiao had not returned to the realm of the gods alone. 200 years had passed, and not only had Ling Xiao's cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds, breaking through to the celestial venerable realm, he had even grasped such a world-shaking great force under his command. Was this the destiny of the Chosen One? For the first time, everyone had a deep understanding of the words Chosen One. However, it was not over yet. Crack. The void shattered again. The heavenly might was like the prison steel. It was as though it could connect the heavens and realms and open up void passageways. In the void, another group of figures with terrifying auras appeared. Each of them exuded an ancient aura and exuded a primordial energy fluctuation. Greetings, Master, Heavenly Venerate Huai under the Chaos Lord. Greetings, Master, Heavenly Venerate Rose under the Chaos Lord. Greetings, Master, Heavenly Venerate Thorns under the Chaos Lord. Greetings, Master, Heavenly Venerate Moon Osmanthus under the Chaos Lord. 4 thunderous voices reverberated in the void. The 4 towering figures, along with the group of experts behind them, knelt down in front of Ling Xiao at the same time. Their eyes were filled with fanaticism and worship. SSS. Another 4 heavenly venerate experts and an army of 10,000 sages have arrived. The Chaos Lord? Isn't Ling Xiao the Lord of Demons? How did he become the Chaos Lord? Everyone was dumbfounded. This was especially true for those with weak cultivations and weak minds. Their faces were pale, and they were about to faint from the waves of experts descending. They suddenly realized that the 8 superpowers' attempt to annihilate the war god's temple and kill Ling Xiao was no different from poking a hornet's nest. What a joke! How could they touch Ling Xiao? Even the members of the war god temple were dumbfounded. Even though Lu Bai, Pangu Tiangang, and the White Dragon Horse were confident in Ling Xiao and believed that Ling Xiao had a backup plan, they did not expect Ling Xiao's backup plan to be so shocking. Ling Xiao actually had such a terrifying force under his command. It wouldn't be difficult for him to sweep through the 8 superpowers, right? The White Dragon Horse suddenly glanced at the old mountain goat in the sky. It immediately went up to him and licked its lips. Old mountain goat, what has Ling Xiao been through all these years? Can you tell me about it? Impudent. Call me young masterin. Trash like you only managed to cultivate to the Saint King realm now. There are dozens of demon race heavenly venerables under the Demon Lord. If you don't cultivate properly, you won't even be qualified to be the Demon Lord's mount. The old mountain goat slapped the White Dragon Horse's head and chuckled. The White Dragon Horse was furious. At the same time, it said with a guilty conscience, "Don't talk nonsense. I'm a dragon horse, the great emperor's mount. Wouldn't it be awe-inspiring to ride on me and sweep through the universe?" "You want to sweep through the universe? With such a useless cultivation, you'll only embarrass the demon lord. Look at me and the ox-nosed old Taoist. We're about to break through to the heavenly venerable's realm. Come, call me young master and I'll teach you." The old mountain goat looked at the white dragon horse with disdain and said proudly, "Young master and big brother old mountain goat. What benefits do you have? Bring me along. We're good brothers." The white dragon horse's eyes lit up as it said shamelessly, "That's more like it. Let me tell you, we've obtained a great fortune this time with Ling Xiao." The old mountain goat chuckled and put his arm around the white dragon horse's shoulder. Without mentioning the two of them whispering, the many experts from the 8 super factions had recovered from their shock at this moment. Their expressions became incomparably ugly, and their eyes were filled with incomparable shock. Above the void, the figures with monstrous auras were densely packed and shrouded the entire sky. Moreover, they had vaguely trapped the people from the 8 super forces in the middle. They counted carefully. The 3 heavenly venerables from the Taishang Palace, Duguju from the Hero Alliance, the heavenly venerables from the Golden Emperor tribe, and heavenly venerables Zhang Feng, Lu Bai, and Ling Xiao from the War God Hall. That was a total of 8 heavenly venerables. The old mountain goat and Taoist Wuyang brought 4 heavenly venerables with them. The 5 sacred tribes sent 10 heavenly venerables. Ni Shang, King Song Bai, and the other 10 heavenly venerables, as well as the 4 heavenly venerables from the untainted territory, made a total of 28 heavenly venerables. In total, there were a total of 36 heavenly venerables. Not to mention, the army of sages they brought with them was more than 100,000 people. Since when could the number of sages be described as 10,000? The 8 super forces only had 24 heavenly venerables and 10,000 sages. The difference between the two was too great. How were they going to fight the battle today? Everyone couldn't help but look at the Samsara master. The Lord of Samsara had the cultivation of an imperial emperor. An imperial emperor had touched upon the supreme emperor realm, which was the pinnacle of Tao. His strength was terrifying. Perhaps only the Lord of Samsara could turn the tide. The master of Samsara's face was ghastly. He looked at the calm and indifferent Ling Xiao and suddenly felt his heart palpitate. The chosen one in front of him, the rising star of the god world, had finally reached a level where he had to take him seriously. He was even deeply afraid of him. No matter how strong Ling Xiao was previously, he was only one person. But now, Ling Xiao had dozens of heavenly venerables under his command and more than 100,000 sages in his army. He controlled the life and death of billions of people and possessed great power. It could be said that if Ling Xiao wanted to, he could create an immortal sanctuary at any time. Moreover, it was a great force that far surpassed the 12 immortal sanctuaries in the god world. Ling Xiao, I didn't expect you to have such great fortune in the past 200 years. You have mastered such great power. You are the chosen one of the human tribe. This is also the human tribe's fortune. With so many experts, our chances of fighting against the demon tribe in the future will be greatly increased. Why don't we turn weapons of war into gifts of jade and silk? Let's write off our grievances. What do you think? The master of Samsara looked at Ling Xiao and suppressed the murderous intent in his heart. He spoke slowly in an extremely calm manner. Turn weapons of war into gifts of jade and silk. Ha ha ha. What a big joke. As soon as the master of Samsara finished speaking, the white dragon horse laughed arrogantly. Its voice was full of mockery. Even the surrounding experts looked at the Samsara master with ridicule in their eyes. The dominator of Samsara really changed his face faster than one could flip a book. Just a moment ago, he wanted to kill Ling Xiao. Now, he said that they were all from the human tribe and that they should turn weapons of war into gifts of jade and silk. P.S. Last night, I had dinner with friends at the last minute. I drank too much and didn't ask for leave. Sorry, I will make up for yesterday's chapter. The most exciting part is coming. Everyone, make way. Ling Xiao is about to start acting tough. Peak.